Chapter 1139. Area 51, Security Department, Thompson's office. Thompson was pinning a female soldier down on the sofa. His fat buttocks were doing weird things to her. The female soldier's eyes were filled with disdain and disgust, but on the surface, she played along with him, moaning in pleasure. The National Guard's checkpoint was raided. The report was placed on the desk, but Thompson was looking at it with his buttocks. Baby, you're so charming. Thompson was sweet-talking her. Praise your mother. You're thinking of my mother at a time like this? She gave birth to you. You're so beautiful and charming. General, didn't you say you're going to promote me? When are you going to promote me? The female soldier wrapped her arms around Thompson's waist and asked the question she wanted to ask the most at the right time. Thompson smiled. I'm in a good mood today. I'll fill in your file later. Smack. The female soldier kissed Thompson hard on the cheek and said, General, let me serve you. Ha ha ha, you're my baby. Thompson laughed, and he laughed happily. He climbed down from the female soldier's body and laid down on the sofa. He looked very comfortable. Doot doot doot. Doot doot doot. Who's calling at this hour? The female soldier who was about to get to work was displeased. Thompson pulled out the custom-made phone from his pocket. The female soldier grabbed Thompson's hand and whined, General, don't pick up the phone, please? Thompson glanced at the caller ID and brushed the female soldier's hand away. General! The female soldier continued to whine. Thompson slapped her buttocks hard. I have to answer this call. Don't worry, I'll help you with your promotion. You can leave for a while, I need to take this call. The female soldier grabbed the clothes on the floor and left Thompson's office. She didn't want to serve an old man like Thompson anyway. Since Thompson brought it up himself, she was more than willing to end it this way. She didn't want Thompson to disgust her again. After the female soldier left the office, Thompson picked up the phone. He lowered his voice and asked carefully, Mr. James, is there anything I can help you with? I'm busy. He was so nervous because the call was from Charlotte. Now, he dared to offend people all over the world, even daring to give the President of the United States the middle finger, but he did not dare to offend Charlotte. The reason was very simple. Charlotte was the greatest god of wealth he had ever encountered in his life, and also the god of destiny who controlled his destiny. Mr. Thompson, listen carefully. What I'm about to say is very important. Charlotte's voice came from the phone. Mr. James, please tell me. I will remember everything. Thompson was very polite. 10 minutes later, you have to send me the list of all the people who entered Area 51 tonight. This, what? You don't want to? No, Mr. James, I would do anything for you, but it would leave a mark. Even if they don't find me tonight, they'll find me in the future, Thompson said. It was Charlotte's voice. You're in charge of the security and defense of Area 51. Surely you have the authority to access all the surveillance videos and the registration of all the people entering and exiting the building without leaving your office? Of course, but don't you know that cameras exist in this world? Take a picture of it and send it to me. That way, there won't be any trace left on your computer. Charlotte's voice rang out. Thompson slapped his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? No problem, I'll take a picture and send it to you. The second thing I want to talk about is the destruction of the National Guard's checkpoint in the West. What's the reaction from the CIA and the Pentagon? I just received the report from the CIA. I haven't had the chance to read it yet. I'll go read it right away. Thompson hurried to his desk and flipped open the report. As he read, he said, the bodies of gang members were found at the checkpoint. But the one who killed the National Guard was one of the National Guard's own machine gunners. He fired from the back and left no one alive. He killed himself. Other than that, the body of the cause of death was found. The CIA's experts speculate that the killer was among the gang members. The cause of death, the killer was obviously referring to Zhu Xianyue. Zhu Xianyue hunted for food in the United States. She created a large number of corpses with rotting brains. There was no reason for the American Intelligence Department and police to not investigate. Therefore, it was normal for her to be called the killer. You don't have to explain the case to me anymore. Just tell me what the CIA and the Pentagon are doing. Thompson flipped through a few pages and said, "There are no intelligence recommendations from the CIA. There are also no military orders from the Pentagon. They just want me to be more alert and what? And send a list of all the people who entered Area 51 tonight to the CIA." The expression on Thompson's face was strange. What the CIA wanted him to do was the same as what Charlotte wanted him to do. "I got it. Now I'll say one last thing." Charlotte's voice rang out. "In an hour, I want to enter Area 51. I don't care what method you use. You have to get me in." "Huh? This? After tonight, you'll get all the money and the things you're hiding. So you only need to take this risk and you'll live the rest of your life in luxury," Charlotte said. Thompson was silent for a moment before he said, "Where are you now?" Charlotte said, "My current coordinates are 37-233382-115. 81049. Go and get ready now. Remember, you only have 1 hour." Thompson was on the verge of tears. "Mr. James, it's not that I don't want to help you. In fact, I want to complete the deal between us tonight. But I've told you, Area 51's security system is very advanced. Even if you disguise yourself as anyone in this world, the facial recognition system will recognize your real identity. Area 51 is the most difficult place to invade in the world. China's intelligence department has been trying to invade for a long time now. But they've never succeeded. Russia is also a loser. They've been trying to invade Area 51 since the Soviet era, but they've never succeeded. You only gave me 1 hour, how can I get you in safely? Even if you have the ability to disguise yourself as me, it won't work." Charlotte's voice rang out. "Mr. Thompson, don't worry. I've already prepared a plan for you." You have a plan like that?" Thompson's jaw dropped. Charlotte's voice rang out. "Listen." Thompson's mouth hung open, unable to close. At the same time, Area 51's radar station. A small red dot suddenly appeared on the radar screen. The radar soldier noticed the situation and picked up a communicator. He said in a low voice, "You've invaded American military territory. Turn back immediately or you'll be shot down. I'll remind you again, this is your last warning." A voice came through the communicator. "We have permission from the Pentagon. The number is TMX 11809. The radar soldier then checked the corresponding communication permission on the computer and said, "Access permission exists. Please provide the access password." "The passcode is XJ77963. The soldier said, "The passcode is correct. Permission granted. After landing, please accept the inspection and follow the relevant regulations of Area 51. "Roger that." After the call ended, the soldier picked up the phone on the table and dialed Thompson's office number. The call went through and Thompson's voice came through. "What's up?" The soldier said respectfully, "General, an administrative Falcon helicopter has arrived. It has permission from the Pentagon." "Who is it?" Thompson asked. "The permission says it's from Lockheed Martin Corporation." "There's no list of personnel," the soldier said. "There's no list of personnel?" "Yes, it's against the rules. But the permission is a special permit. We can't do anything about it. Check on those people and write me a report. That's all." Thompson hung up the phone after he finished speaking. The soldier cursed. "Motherf asterisk cur, he must be with that slut Jenny again. What a pair of bitches." Thompson's office. Thompson turned on the computer and quickly pulled up the list of personnel entering and exiting the building, as well as the permission. He took a picture of the list of names and the permission to travel. When he was doing this, he didn't even have a single thread on him. The general was very busy. 2 minutes later, An administrative Falcon helicopter arrived at Area 51's helipad and landed. The door of the helicopter opened, and two tall and sexy blonde women got off the helicopter first. Then, they helped a blonde young man to get off the helicopter. It was the new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Keston, and his two beautiful bodyguards, Charlotte and Eva. The two blondes were dressed in black suit. Their breasts were voluptuous and their tight trousers perfectly outlined the curves of their buttock. It was the standard European-style buttock. For such beauties to appear in a military base like this, the American soldiers would have to waste a lot of tissue paper. A military off-road vehicle sped over with a few soldiers in it. "Go deal with them. Tell them that we have permission to be inspected," Keston said. Charlotte and Eva nodded and then walked towards the military off-road vehicle that was driving towards them. Before they even got close, a soft whistle came from the military off-road vehicle. Keston took out his phone and dialed a 32-digit number. A few seconds later, he lowered his voice. "I'm in. Everything is going according to your plan." There was no sound from the phone. After a 2-second pause, Keston hung up. He walked over to the SUV, where his two beautiful bodyguards were talking to Thompson's men who had come to check it out. Outside Area 51, in the middle of a desert, Charlotte opened his email on his phone. After seeing the permission, he frowned. "Lockheed Martin Corporation is here too? Although there's no name on it, it's probably Keston. Who the hell was this guy? Who is he working for?" Chapter 1140. In the dead of night, a piercing siren suddenly sounded in a military camp. The sleeping soldier reflexively got up from the bed, quickly putting on his clothes and cursing at the same time. F***ck. They're still doing a drill so late. It must be because Jenny didn't serve that old guy Thompson well and didn't get any benefits from him. Haha. If it were us, we would definitely make that slut Jenny scream. The door was suddenly kicked open, and a female soldier with a big butt appeared at the door. She was none other than Jenny, the slut in the mouth of these soldiers. She was the woman who had sex with Thompson in his office before. She was a first lieutenant and was in charge of this anti-aircraft missile platoon. As soon as Jenny appeared, the soldiers in the barracks shut their mouth. These soldiers didn't have the guts to call Jenny a little slut or slut in front of her, but they could call her whatever they wanted behind her back. Jenny looked at the tactical watch on her hand and said coldly, "Gather in 1 minute and set off. This is a drill personally commanded by the General, codenamed Lone Hero. The content of the drill assumes that all friendly units have been eliminated and we are the only ones left, and we are about to face an attack from Russian strategic missiles. We have to drive our missile vehicle into the designated interception location, launch missiles to intercept, and defend Area 51. A group of soldiers who were getting dressed looked at each other. No one spoke, but they all said the same thing in their hearts. Did the general's brain get crushed by Jenny's breast, or did Jenny's brain get crushed by the general? In any case, the anti-aircraft missile platoon gathered after a minute. This drill, codenamed Lone Hero, was really designed and commanded by Thompson himself because he was also here. Thompson gave a few simple words, then jumped into a military off-road vehicle and led the team away. Jenny personally drove a SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile vehicle to follow. Behind the SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile vehicle was a radar vehicle, several military off-road vehicles, and an infantry fighting vehicle. Out of the military base, the drill team headed for the desert. No one knew where they were going. Half an hour later, Thompson's voice sounded in the communicator, arriving at the predetermined location. "Everyone get out of the car and get ready for battle." A radar soldier suddenly said, "An intruder target is approaching us." "That's a Russian strategic missile, shoot it down," Thompson ordered. "General." The radar soldier's tone was strange. "That's a civilian drone. Take it down." "Carry out my orders," Thompson roared. The general gave the order. Not to mention a civilian drone, even if it was a Mosquito, SAM-12 would shoot it. After Thompson gave the order, the SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile vehicle driven by Jenny immediately set up the launcher. 10 seconds later, a SAM-12 missile flew towards the target. In the equipment room of an aircraft club in Las Vegas, a blond young man was flying a fixed-wing drone to a predetermined location. Beside him was his partner, a black kid. Just half an hour ago, he received a call. A customer had placed a strange order, asking him to use the best drone to drop a box of Durex at the designated location. The client paid him $100,000, but he had to fly to the designated location at a set time. I really want to see who's so romantic to actually spend $100,000 to buy a box of Durex. The blond youth operating the drone said. I think it might be an Arab prince. Only they like to shoot cannons in the desert. The black youth smiled and said, when we fly to the predetermined location, we must take a few pictures to satisfy our craving. We'll be there soon, the blond youth said. My brother, do you think he would do that kind of thing on the back of a camel? Ha! Whoosh! The aerial image on the screen suddenly disappeared. There was nothing left. What happened? The blond youth said in a daze. The black youth shrugged. I don't know, but we've already received the guy's $100,000. It's not a loss. But we didn't drop the Durex he wanted at the predetermined location. So we should run and hide for a while. The blond youth got up. We'll go to Hawaii. We'll leave immediately. At the same time, Jenny waved her fist. Hit. The deputy sitting next to Jenny looked at her with a strange expression. Using an anti-aircraft missile worth millions of dollars to shoot down a civilian drone, was there a need to be so excited? However, there was no explosion in the sky. The SAM-12 anti-aircraft missile had completely knocked down the civilian drone. What's going on? Thompson's voice sounded from the communicator. Jenny bit the bullet and said, it might be a missile malfunction. Missile malfunction? If this was a real battle, we'd all be dead. Immediately bring people to check. I want everyone to see how you usually maintain our equipment. Immediately. Thompson was furious. Yes. Jenny also roared. Everyone go to the missile crash site, immediately. Jenny and her men drove a few military SUVs to the missile crash site. Only Thompson was left at the position. Just as Jenny and her men left, Thompson got out of the car. He looked around but didn't see the person he wanted to see. I'm here. A familiar voice came. Thompson turned around and looked in the direction of the missile launch vehicle where the voice came from. Under the moonlight, a mixed-race young man stood on the missile launcher and looked at him expressionlessly. Thompson then took out a set of military uniform in a plastic bag from the military SUV beside him and walked over. He threw the uniform to Charlotte. Mr. James, your plan is really great. Charlotte quickly changed into the uniform Thompson gave him, then carried his equipment bag and got into the launcher. This was his plan. Book the airdrop service and then Thompson would bring his men to shoot down the plane. He got into the launched missile launcher. No matter how advanced Area 51's surveillance equipment was, it couldn't monitor its own missile launcher. After Charlotte hid, Jenny's voice came from the communicator. General, it was a fixed-wing drone that was shot down. It what? It was carrying a box of Durex. Jenny's voice was strange. Thompson was stunned. Durex? Yes, Durex, Jenny said. Bring it back, Thompson said. Jenny was speechless. Next to the wreckage of the fallen drone, a large group of soldiers wanted to laugh but didn't dare. But they all had a common understanding, and that was that this box of Durex would eventually be used on their commanding officer, Jenny. And the person who used it was none other than their general. 10 minutes later, Thompson returned to Area 51 with his team. This is a failed exercise. It's a shame, Thompson said. When we go back, get someone to pull the fallen missile back and destroy the drone. I don't want to be a joke to those guys in the Pentagon. No one is allowed to mention this. Yes, sir. The communicator responded. In the missile launcher, Jenny took out the box of Durex and looked at it. Her head was full of questions. In the center of Area 51, in front of a circular building, Kirsten and his two beautiful bodyguards stopped in their tracks, and the three of them looked at the circular building in front of them. There was no sign on the building, not even a lowercase letter. There were no windows either, and the outer wall was made of a large amount of metal. At the same time, there was a thick layer of anti-radar and anti-satellite paint. It was impossible to see it on Google Maps. There was only one alloy door in the circular building. When the door opened, there were 4 armed guards. They looked at Kirsten, Charlotte, and Eva expressionlessly. This is the AE Research Center? Kirsten said calmly. It looks mysterious. Charlotte and Eva just listened without saying a word. The two blonde beauties were colder than icebergs. The alloy door opened and a white-haired old man walked out. He was the head of the AE Research Center, Alec. There were 2 people behind Alec. One of them was Sylvia's ex-boyfriend, Adolf Hillman. The other was a senior intelligence officer from Israel's Mossad, Kearns. His appearance here was surprising. As America's ally in the Middle East, and the faceless warrior statue belonged to Israel, it was normal for Israel to send Kearns to participate in the Shepherd Project. Mr. Kirsten, you're here. I've been waiting here for a long time. Alex smiled and spoke politely. When he walked up to Kirsten, he gave him another hug. Kirsten said, Mr. Alec, can you bring me to see the 6 faceless warrior statues now? I can't wait to see them. I've already made the arrangements, Alex said. Follow me. Adolf Hillman had wanted to wait for Alec to finish talking to Kirsten, introduce himself, and then shake hands with Kirsten. However, Kirsten did not care about him at all. Perhaps because of that, he said, Mr. Alec, it's not a problem for Mr. Kirsten to go in, but does his bodyguard have permission to look around? Charlotte and Eva's eyes shifted to Adolf Hillman. Their gazes were cold. Kirsten said, He's my assistant, Adolf Hillman, Alec introduced. Oh. Kirsten said, Mr. Alec, I will assign you a new assistant. Mr. Adolf Hillman does not need to come here tomorrow. Why? Adolf Hillman could not believe it. He was furious, but he did not dare to show it. After all, Alec was the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation. He had an important position in the U.S. military. Kirsten said, If you want the reason, I can tell you. The AE Research Center has been researching for so long without any result. The Pentagon has lost its patience. From now on, the AE Research Center will be taken over by Lockheed Martin Corporation. We'll provide the funds, equipment, and personnel. Given the situation, do you think I have the right to fire you? You. Adolf Hillman's gaze shifted to Alec. Mr. Alec, this isn't fair. I've always been your assistant. I've done so much for this research center. Are you going to fire me just because I'm sticking to my principles? Alec wanted to say something but stopped. It would be stupid to go against the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation for a mere assistant. Kirsten said, Mr. Adolf Hillman, there's no such thing as fairness in this world. All right, Mr. Alec, let's go. All right, please follow me. Alec led the way. Charlotte and Eva walked past Adolf Hillman. The 2 women didn't even look at Adolf Hillman in the eye. This was contempt and disdain that came from their bones. Adolf Hillman stood where he was and did not move for a long time. Why was he always the one who got hurt? Chapter 1141. In Thompson's office. Mr. James, you have to finish as soon as possible. The sooner you leave, the better. Thompson's tone was practically begging. If Ciale was discovered and he sold him out, he would also be done for. Charlotte didn't seem to hear Thompson's voice. He operated Thompson's computer and quickly pulled up the surveillance video of the AE Research Center. However, he only pulled up the external surveillance video, not the internal one. Thompson also saw the surveillance video that Charlotte pulled up. He said, "It's useless. The AE Research Center has an independent surveillance system. Even I can't see it." Charlotte said, "Independent. That is to say, what happens inside can't be seen from the outside." Thompson nodded. "In theory, yes." "Take me there," said Charlotte. "Huh." Thompson felt a headache coming on. He looked very reluctant. Charlotte said faintly, "Don't forget that we are on the same boat. If I act alone, if I am discovered, can you get away with it? I will only be safer if you cover me." "But," Thompson bit the bullet and said, "although the AE Research Center is in Area 51, it has always been an independent institution. I don't have the authority to get you in. If we force our way in, the CIA and the Pentagon will soon know. You need an excuse to enter, and this excuse is ready-made." "What is it?" Charlotte said. "Didn't the people from Lockheed Martin Corporation come? They just provided a pass. Don't you know how to make a fuss about the pass? Just pick some problems and then bring people in to check. Even if the people from the Pentagon know, you can say that you are doing your job." Thompson thought for a moment. "Okay, you drive. I will pick problems on the way." Just as Charlotte was about to get up, an Asian female soldier suddenly appeared on the monitor. The picture in the video was very blurry, but this was not a problem for Charlotte. He saw the Asian female soldier's face clearly when he saw her. She was none other than Zhu Xianyue. Charlotte was surprised. He thought to himself, "I went through so much trouble to sneak into Area 51, but she just swaggered in. Although she can control people's minds, she can't control computer programs, right? What's more, Area 51's system is connected to Celestial's system. How did she get in?" Charlotte suddenly shifted his gaze to a map of Area 51 on his desk, then glanced at the direction behind Zhu Xianyue. He was momentarily stunned. Zhu Xianyue came from the helipad. Thompson also came over. He also saw the Asian female soldier and said, "What does this female soldier want?" Charlotte said, "Don't worry about her. Cancel the plan." "Cancel?" Thompson looked very surprised. Although he was eager to go to the AE Research Center to take the risk, he was worried that Charlotte would do something. Once he was discovered, he would be finished. In the surveillance screen, Zhu Xianyue went straight to the alloy gate of the AE Research Center. No one came up to ask her anything, and one of them even opened the door for her. When the door opened, Zhu Xianyue walked straight into the AE Research Center. Who is this woman?" Thompson stared at the surveillance screen on the monitor, dumbfounded. Charlotte said, "You stay here and get ready. I will leave in an hour." "You're going to the AE Research Center by yourself?" "Yes, I'm going by myself." Charlotte walked to the door without further explanation. Thompson shrugged. "Well, I'll get ready now." Leaving Thompson's office, Charlotte walked to the AE Research Center based on the map network in his brain. He avoided all the surveillance cameras and all the patrolling soldiers. With the ability of his eyes and ears, he had absolute control over a radius of 2 kilometers. Only he could find others, and no one could find him. 10 minutes later, Charlotte arrived in front of the circular building of the AE Research Center. The 4 armed guards stood straight in the doorway, looking straight ahead. Charlotte's eyes locked on one of the guards and activated the X-ray and scanning mode. A set of data quickly appeared in his brain. Heartbeat 50, brain activity 1%. The heartbeat was only 50, which was a heartbeat that would only occur when one was asleep. However, these 4 guards were on duty, so it was impossible for them to have such a heartbeat under normal circumstances. What's more, their brain activity was only 1%. This was definitely not the data of someone who was asleep, but the data of someone who had become a living dead. This was obviously Zhu Xianyue's doing. Charlotte retracted his X-ray and scanning vision and walked over. He took out a pass from one of the guards, opened the alloy gate and walked in. Behind the alloy gate was an empty front hall. There was only a row of chairs in the large front hall and a front desk. However, because it was night time, there was no staff there at all. The front hall today was a corridor, and on both sides of the corridor were office areas. Charlotte's vision quickly completed the reconnaissance. The office areas on both sides of the corridor were just ordinary office areas, and there was no one working in them at all. There was a surveillance room next to the office area, but when Charlotte's vision moved to that place, he found a few people lying in disorder inside. Their faces were bloodless, and there was no heartbeat. They were already dead. This was obviously also Zhu Xuanyue's doing. She killed all the guards in the surveillance room and had a little midnight snack. Wherever Zhu Xuanyue went, there was no one left alive. Charlotte retracted his vision from the surveillance room and continued to observe. There was an elevator next to the corridor entrance, but he needed to check the information of his retina, fingerprint, and pass before he could enter. His vision penetrated the elevator shaft, and at a glance, he saw that the elevator was going down. There was an underground space under the circular building. Obviously, that was the real AE Research Center, and all the confidential experiments were carried out in the underground space. There's no way Zhu Xuanyue has a pass, right? She can't control the heavenly god system to let her take that elevator. She must have another way. Charlotte moved his vision to the ground, and a series of footprints appeared on the smooth tile floor. Zhu Xuanyue came from the helipad, and her feet were inevitably stained with dust and mud. These things became the traces that Charlotte tracked her. Of course, normal people couldn't see such traces, so Charlotte used his microscopic vision ability. Zhu Xuanyue's footprints extended into the office area, and Charlotte followed her footprints forward. Finally, he came to the front of a room. Zhu Xuanyue's footprints extended into the room, and Charlotte pushed open the office door and walked in. This was Alex's office. His name tag was on the desk, and there was a photo of him with the former President of the United States on the wall. Zhu Xuanyue's footprints extended all the way to a bookcase. Charlotte came to the bookcase, and in his vision, a woman's palm print appeared on the side of the bookcase. Charlotte placed his hand on the woman's palm print and then pushed it to the side. The bookcase slowly moved aside, revealing the entrance to a staircase. There was no password entry requirement, and there was no electronic device that needed to be inserted into the pass. It was just a staircase that led to the underground space. Charlotte was confused. This is such a secure place, and Alex's office has such a design. Is this a safe passage in case of an emergency, or what? He didn't see the staircase in the front hall, but how could such an important research center not have a staircase? If there was a power outage or a fire, how could the people in the underground space escape? Therefore, there was a high possibility that this staircase was a secret escape passage in case of an emergency. This also seemed to explain why there was no complicated identification verification equipment. In an emergency, how could the people who escaped have the time to enter the password, fingerprint, and retina? But the question was, how did Zhu Xuanyue know about such a secret escape passage? Charlotte thought of two possibilities. The first possibility was that someone had told her. The second possibility was that her X-ray vision had reached a very scary level, and she could see the hidden safe passage in this office at a glance. And this was something that Charlotte couldn't do. Either of these two possibilities was possible, but Xia Lei didn't think too much about it. He entered the staircase behind the bookcase, then lowered his footsteps to the lowest level and carefully walked down. There was light in the staircase, and there were footprints left by Zhu Xuanyue on the stairs. When he went down the stairs for about 3 floors, the exit of the staircase entered Charlotte's sight. At the exit of the staircase were the bodies of 2 armed guards. Their brains had shrunk and decayed, and they had obviously become Zhu Xuanyue's snack. The 2 armed guards were obviously the personnel who guarded this staircase. Their existence just happened to indicate that this staircase was a safe passage in case of an emergency. Although there was no need to verify identity and enter a password, under normal circumstances, it was forbidden to pass through. Charlotte walked out of the staircase. His position was just an overhead circular corridor. Below him was a huge underground space. 6 faceless warrior statues were placed in 6 different positions in the underground space, forming a 6-pointed star pattern. Around the 6 faceless warrior statues, there were countless scientific research equipment. Some of the equipment was in a working state, and some equipment was in a closed state. This was what Charlotte saw when he used his left eye to see through the ground under his feet. He didn't dare stand at the edge of the corridor. Charlotte also saw Alec, Kirsten, and his 2 female bodyguards, Charlotte and Eva. There was also the high-ranking intelligence officer from Israel, Kearns. Finally, he saw the person he didn't want to see, Zhu Xianyue. Zhu Xianyue, who was dressed as a female soldier, had already walked down the circular corridor. She was walking through the experimental area toward those people. Those people didn't notice her, and they were still discussing the problems related to the Shepherd Project. Their voices were clearly heard by Charlotte. The material of these 6 statues isn't any material in this world. We've compared all the materials that can be compared, but none of them are similar, so we can confirm that they aren't composite materials. Alec's voice rang out. Kirsten said, "Mr. Alec, our plan is to melt them. Why don't you carry out our plan?" Alec said, "We know about Lockheed Martin Corporation's plan, but melting them is the last step. Now isn't the time to melt them. They can interfere with signals, which is a very magical thing. If we melt them without even understanding this, we might never find the answer." But at this moment Kearns suddenly shouted, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Zhu Xianyue had been discovered. Chapter 1142. Kearns noticed Zhu Xianyue, but Zhu Xianyue noticed Charlotte. Just as Kearns was questioning her, Zhu Xianyue shifted her gaze towards Charlotte. At that moment, her gaze pierced through the cement floor and met Charlotte's eyes. Charlotte suddenly tensed up. He recalled what Zhu Xianyue said in the cornfield. She had already repaid her debt to him. If he were to appear in front of her again, she would kill him. Now, Charlotte appeared in front of Zhu Xianyue. Although there was a cement floor between them, it was obviously not enough to protect him. If Zhu Xianyue were to attack him now, he would be in a dangerous situation. Just as Charlotte was worried that Zhu Xianyue might attack him, Zhu Xianyue shifted her gaze away and continued to walk towards Kearns and Alec. Charlotte thought to himself, "She clearly saw me, but why didn't she react at all?" "Hey!" Kearns suddenly pulled out a handgun and pointed it at Zhu Xianyue. "Stop. Answer my question, or I will shoot." Zhu Xianyue acted as if she did not hear Kearns' warning and continued to walk forward. Kearns was not an indecisive person. He decisively pulled the trigger. However, just as he was about to pull the trigger, he realized that he could not control his finger to pull the trigger. Not only his finger, but he quickly realized that he had lost control of his arm and even his entire body. A second later, Kearns fell to the ground. The way he fell was very strange, as if he was a corpse that had been frozen in the fridge for an entire day. It gave off an especially stiff feeling. Using a gun in front of Zhu Xianyue was no different from suicide. "Who are you? What did you do to him?" Alec immediately tensed up. He instinctively took a step back and was about to call the guard. Zhu Xianyue's figure flashed, and she instantly broke through the distance between her and Alec. Then, she threw a punch at Alec's chest. Alec let out a blood-curdling scream as his entire body flew up and crashed into a faceless warrior's statue before falling to the ground. He fell to the ground, bleeding from his 7 orifices, and never got up again. Zhu Xianyue's punch was like a raging bull ramming into his chest. At the moment of impact, half of his ribs were broken and pierced into his fat. Then, he crashed into the statue of the faceless warrior. Now, even if he was sent to the operating table immediately, he would not be able to be saved. This scene left Xia Lei dumbfounded. He hadn't expected such a change at all. In his imagination, Zhu Xianyue was likely to hold Alec hostage to achieve her goal, but he did not expect her to kill Alec with a single punch. Zhu Xianyue walked toward Kirsten. Is she going to kill Kirsten and the two girls from Lockheed Martin Corporation? Charlotte thought to himself, she didn't attack me immediately. Is she going to deal with me after killing the three of them? Zhu Xianyue stopped in front of Kirsten. Kirsten looked at Zhu Xianyue calmly. Zhu Xianyue had killed two people in front of him, but there was no trace of fear on his face. Not only him, but even Charlotte and Eva, who were standing behind him, looked at Zhu Xianyue calmly. They did not make any defensive moves. However, just as Charlotte was feeling strange, Zhu Xianyue suddenly said, "Melt them. You still have half an hour." "I know. I'll start right away." Kirsten's tone was like a courtier talking to a king in ancient times. It was humble and respectful, but he looked like an extremely arrogant man. In the circular corridor, Charlotte was shocked. He would never have dreamed that the new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Kirsten, would be Zhu Xuanyue's subordinate. How is this possible? Aren't Zhu Xuanyue's subordinates the motorcycle gang? How could she be the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation? What had she experienced during this period of time? What has she done? Charlotte could not help but think about these questions. Kirsten walked toward the central control panel, while Charlotte and Eva walked toward the rows of pipes and valves on the left and right. Zhu Xianyue turned around and walked toward Charlotte. Charlotte collected his thoughts and reached behind him. He opened the zipper of his equipment bag and took out the Gale assault rifle. If Zhu Xianyue attacked him, he would use his Gale assault rifle. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to defeat Zhu Xianyue. He could only fight Zhu Xianyue if he used modern firearms. Zhu Xianyue could control Kirsten's brain and prevent him from firing, but he was not Kirsten. He was Charlotte. Not only was he the best sniper in the world, but he was also the only person in the world that Zhu Xianyue could not control. In terms of combat, he was no match for Zhu Xianyue because the difference in strength was too great. However, in terms of marksmanship, Zhu Xianyue was no match for him. He had never seen Zhu Xianyue kill someone with a gun. As expected, Zhu Xianyue walked toward Charlotte with a murderous look on her face. However, when she saw Charlotte pull out his gun without hesitation, and it was the most advanced and powerful Gale assault rifle in the world, she stopped in her tracks. There was no point in hiding anymore. Charlotte stood up, and the Gale assault rifle in his hand drooped down slightly. However, as long as he wanted to, he could fire at any target in this underground laboratory in 0.1 seconds, including Zhu Xianyue. No matter how fast Zhu Xianyue was, she could not be faster than a bullet when she had a physical body. The moment Charlotte appeared, Justin, Eva, and Christine shifted their gazes. The three of them were very vigilant. Charlotte suddenly pulled out her gun. Bang! A gunshot rang out. Charlotte only slightly raised the muzzle. He did not even take aim, and a bullet hit Charlotte's right arm. Blood immediately flowed out of Charlotte's right arm, and the gun that she had just pulled out fell to the ground. She clutched her injured arm and looked at Xia Lei with a shocked expression. Eva's hand quietly reached behind her. Charlotte said in English, "If you pull out your gun, it won't be your arm that will be hit, but your head." His words were sharper than a knife. Although it was just a sentence, it was like a sharp knife pressed against Eva's neck, making her not dare to move recklessly. Justin looked straight at Charlotte, his eyes filled with surprise and speculation. He seemed to be guessing Charlotte's identity and purpose. Zhu Xianyue said coldly, "What do you want? Have you forgotten what I told you? You and I are even. If you appear in front of me again, I'll kill you." The corners of Charlotte's mouth curled up gently. "Of course I haven't forgotten. I've also told you that I have less than 2 years left. There's not much difference if I die early or late. I want to find the answer, and I'll kill whoever gets in my way." Zhu Xianhua sneered and said, I'm showing you mercy by not killing you. Do you really think that the gun in your hand can stop me? Charlotte said, try it. A hint of killing intent flashed in Zhu Xuanyue's eyes. Xia Lei looked relaxed on the surface, but he was nervous in his heart. Between Zhu Xianhua and prehistoric only, Charlotte was most wary of prehistoric only because prehistoric only did not have a body. No matter how good his marksmanship was, he would not be able to kill a mass of air with bullet. Now, he had the world's most advanced assault rifle in his hand, but could it really stop Zhu Xianhua? To be honest, he didn't have any confidence in his heart. I'll give you one last chance. Leave here and go back to your China, said Zhu Xianhua. Then tell me, why did you melt these 6 faceless warrior statues? Said Charlotte. Zhu Xianhua turned and walked to a set of experimental equipment. What did she want to do? Charlotte hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he didn't stop her. At this time, Kirsten suddenly said in English, although you don't look like that person, I can still guess your identity. You're Charlotte, right? Charlotte said, it doesn't matter who I am. What's important is why the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation would work for her. Who are you? I don't think you'll have a chance to know. Kirsten said lightly, now the entire United States is hunting you. You're really brave to dare to invade Area 51. What you're doing is no different from turning yourself in. All I need to do now is make a phone call or even press the alarm, and you'll be finished. Charlotte sneered. Of course you can do that, but you have to ask yourself if you're faster than a bullet. I promise you, if you move recklessly, there will be a hole in your head within a second. Kirsten shrugged. Our first meeting was really unpleasant. Crack. Zhu Xianhua suddenly pulled off an alloy side plate from a piece of equipment. The alloy side plate still had a screw attached to it. Charlotte's heart suddenly sank, and he suddenly understood. Zhu Xianhua had found herself a shield. As long as she used the shield to block his bullets, once she got close to him, it would be a very bad thing. He began to regret not stopping Zhu Xianhua before she did it. Now that she was holding this shield, the threat of the Gale assault rifle in his hand had been reduced by more than half. Zhu Xianhua walked towards Charlotte. Her speed was not fast. Charlotte raised the Gale assault rifle in his hand and entered combat mode. He drew a red line for Zhu Xianhua in his heart, and that was to climb the first staircase in the circular corridor. Once Zhu Xianhua stepped on that staircase, he would shoot. You guys do what you need to do, Zhu Xianhua shouted. Kirsten nodded and began to operate on the central control panel. The metal floor beneath the 6 faceless warrior statues suddenly moved at a very fast speed. The 6 faceless warrior statues that were placed on the metal floor suddenly fell down and fell into a huge container. The container was filled with blue liquid. It didn't look viscous, and it was like looking at the surface of the sea from afar. The 6 faceless warrior statues were submerged in the blue liquid, but they could still be vaguely seen. When Zhu Xianhua said she wanted to melt the 6 faceless warrior statues, Charlotte imagined that it would be the kind of furnace used to smelt steel, but he didn't expect to melt them with liquid. From the reactions of Kirsten and the 2 blondes, as well as the equipment in this basement, it seemed like Zhu Xianhua had planned this a long time ago. She was the one who leaked the secret of the 6 faceless warrior statues to the CIB. Why did she do this? What was her goal in melting the 6 faceless warrior statues? Charlotte really wanted to know the answer, but Zhu Xianhua obviously wouldn't give him more time to think. Zhu Xianhua had already reached the staircase leading to the circular corridor. Her next step would be to cross the red line that Charlotte had drawn in his heart. Chapter 1143. Bang! A gunshot rang out, and a bullet hit the stairs in front of Zhu Xianhua. The bullet created a cloud of sparks, hit the guardrail next to it, and then bounced onto the alloy shield in Zhu Xianyue's hand. Zhu Xianhua stopped in her tracks. She seemed to know that the stairs in front of her were the red line that Charlotte had drawn for her. As long as she stepped on it, it would be a battle of life and death. Some past events appeared before her eyes. When she was cold, the gentle and caring Uncle Xia hugged her to sleep, and she harassed him, making him very uncomfortable. When she was hungry, Uncle Xia cooked all kinds of delicacies for her. When she acted like a spoiled child, he even fed her personally. When she was naked, she hid everywhere. Uncle Xia caught her and personally dressed her. Not only her own memories, but Peaceful and Gu Qiuan's memories also appeared uncontrollably. These two women's memories contained deep love. Some were as gentle as water, and some were as fiery as fire. Unless she gave up her current body, she would not be able to escape the love that the other two owners of her body had for Charlotte. At that moment, her heart had the desire to kill, but she also had the feelings and memories of loving Charlotte deeply. These two extreme emotions collided in her body, bringing her trouble and pain. Ah! Zhu Xianyue suddenly screamed. Her voice reverberated throughout the underground laboratory, impacting all objects and people. Wherever the sound wave reached, light objects would tremble slightly, and the glass windows would buzz. Crack! A glass that was very close to her suddenly shattered. This kind of sound was like a detonator exploding next to Charlotte's ears. It felt like his eardrums were about to be torn apart. After his ears evolved and his hearing became stronger, he could hear very soft sounds in the distance. He could even hear the voices of people talking on the phone. However, everything had its pros and cons. His overly sensitive and powerful hearing would also amplify Zhu Xuanyue's scream, causing him more harm. Charlotte covered his ears in pain. Zhu Xianyue suddenly rushed up the stairs. Her speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, she rushed from the bottom of the stairs to the circular corridor. It gave people the feeling that a gust of wind blew from the bottom to the top. Not only did she cross the red line that Charlotte had drawn for her, but she also stood face to face with Charlotte. Bang! Charlotte pulled the trigger. A bullet flew out of the Gale assault rifle's muzzle and flew toward Zhu Xuanyue's right foot. Even though it had reached the point of life and death, Charlotte still left some leeway. He didn't shoot her head, but her feet. However, the moment Charlotte pulled the trigger, the alloy shield in Zhu Xuanyue's hand suddenly fell and slammed into the cement floor. Her action and Charlotte's action were completed at almost the same time. If there was a difference in time, it would be a few tenths of a second, and that was the time needed for the bullet to fly. Ding! There was the sound of metal colliding and a burst of sparks. Zhu Xianyue had used the alloy shield in her hand to block the assault rifle's bullet. Even Captain America from the Marvel world couldn't do something like this. If Captain America from the Marvel world stood there and faced Charlotte and his Gale assault rifle, his foot would probably have a bloody hole. You really want me to shoot you? Zhu Xianyue looked very angry. Charlotte said, Didn't you rush up as well? You know that the stairs were the red line that I drew. You don't care about me at all. Why should I care about you? But I didn't shoot you. But you rushed up here. You never cared about me. You said it. You wanted to kill me. It was supposed to be a fight to the death, but the atmosphere had changed. It felt like the two of them weren't enemies, but a couple arguing because of some conflict. Charlotte was never a man who liked to argue with women. He had never argued with any woman in his life, including Jiang Rui. But now, he was arguing with Zhu Xianyue, not because he had changed, but because he had another purpose. Zhu Xianyue hadn't returned to her peak state. She was still unstable. There were two other women in her body. One was Peaceful, and the other was Gu Qiuan. These two women loved him deeply, so they couldn't kill him. As long as he could wake up Peaceful and Gu Qiuan, who were hidden in Zhu Xuanyue's body, things would develop in a direction that she could control. That was why he had quarreled with her, to stimulate her emotions and make her emotionally unstable. Then, Peaceful and Gu Qiuan would wake up. Sure enough, when Zhu Xuanyue's emotions were agitated, her personality started to show signs of chaos. The tears in her eyes were a clear sign, and her voice was trembling. You've never loved me. You've always hurt me. I hate you. Was this peaceful or Gu Qin? Charlotte didn't have time to figure it out, but he knew what he had to do. He said with a gentle voice, "No, I love you. I have always loved you. It's just that you can't feel it." "No, you lied to me," Zhu Xianyue shouted at Charlotte. Charlotte said gently, "Let's talk. I will give you an explanation." He did not say Xianyu, Ningjing, and Kuwan, because he was worried that she was in one of the roles. If he called her by another woman's name, it might cause her to be annoyed. "Is this true? Do you really love me?" Tears flowed from Zhu Xuanyue's eyes, but a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Charlotte nodded. "Yes, I really love you." It was easy for a man to say something like that. But why did you point the gun at her? Kirsten's voice suddenly came from below. "Charlotte, do you think it's appropriate to lie to someone in a situation like this?" Kirsten's voice was like a shot of adrenaline injected into a person who was about to faint. Zhu Xuanyue's eyes suddenly turned cold, and her lips curled into a cold smile. "Charlotte, from a certain perspective they still exist, but if you think they can help you, you are wrong. I didn't want to kill you, but you kept ruining my plan, so I had to kill you." Zhu Xianyue picked up the alloy shield and walked toward Charlotte. Earlier, her mind had been a mess, but now, her body was radiating a cold presence. Charlotte took a step back. He could shoot her at any time, but he couldn't shoot her in the head. Whenever this thought popped up in his mind, two faces would appear in his mind. One was peaceful, and the other was Gu Qin. He couldn't shoot peaceful, and he couldn't shoot Gu Qin. He had killed her once, and he couldn't kill her again. He had awakened peaceful and Gu Qin's existence. It was a problem for Zhu Xianyue, and it hurt him. This was a double-edged sword for him. "General, it's about time. Kill him, and then we will leave this place." Kirsten's voice came. "General? Why would Kirsten call Zhu Xianyue that?" Charlotte didn't have time to think about that. His eyes went over the fence of the circular corridor and landed on the container in the middle of the underground lab. Inside the container that was filled with blue liquid, the 6 faceless warrior statues were melting quickly. The melting substance and the blue liquid had some kind of chemical reaction, and the blue liquid was filled with bubbles. It was like a giant pot of boiling water. Charlotte's eyes silently pierced through the blue liquid and went to the bottom of the container. He saw some white stuff flowing into a pipe at the bottom of the container, and then it was sent somewhere else. His eyes left the container and followed the pipe to the central control panel where Kirsten was. There, at the end of the pipe, was a row of alloy containers. There were 6 of them, and their shape and size looked like batteries that had been magnified many times. His eyes pierced through the 6 battery-shaped alloy containers, and he saw the white substance. They were purer than the blue liquid inside the container, and they were in the form of a liquid. "What is that?" Suddenly, a giant force came from the front. Xia Lei's train of thought was interrupted. In his field of vision, Zhu Xianyue had already broken through the spatial distance between the two of them and punched at his chest. In his field of vision was a fair and tender fist, but it was that fist that carried an incomparably terrifying energy, giving him the feeling that it was a speeding car. Charlotte's feet kicked the ground, and as his body flew backward, he pulled the trigger. Bang bang bang! Ding ding ding! 3 shots. All 3 bullets were blocked by the alloy shield in Zhu Xuanyue's left hand. 3 dents were left on the surface of the alloy shield, but the bullets did not penetrate it. Zhu Xuanyue's body only paused for a moment, and then she pounced forward again. The distance was shorter, the speed was faster, and the threat was greater. Charlotte's speed could not be compared to Zhu Xuanyue's. If he was far away from Zhu Xianyue, he would be safer, but once Zhu Xianyue was in front of him, he would be in danger. Zhu Xuanyue's fist was in front of his chest in the blink of an eye. Charlotte braced himself and used the Gale assault rifle in his hand to hit her fist. Boom! Under the violent impact, the Gale assault rifle in Charlotte's hand was bent. His body was also sent flying by the powerful shockwave, flying over the circular corridors, railing and falling to the ground. In the underground laboratory, Eva suddenly pulled out her gun, and the muzzle was aimed at Charlotte, who was falling to the ground. Before Eva could pull the trigger, a black shadow suddenly rushed down from the entrance of the safety passage, which was the staircase that Charlotte had come from, and cut in front of Charlotte. Bang, bang, bang! Eva fired 3 shots in a row, and all 3 bullets hit the black shadow's chest. Crash! Charlotte's back slammed into an experiment table. The equipment and glassware on the table were crushed by his back, and the fragments scattered all over the ground. The one who had saved Charlotte at the critical moment was none other than the black-robed man, the prehistoric one. He had been shot 3 times by Eva, but he did not react at all. There were only 3 bullet holes on his black robe, and smoke was coming out. He was floating in the air, weightless. After Charlotte fell to the ground, he suddenly rushed toward Eva. Whoosh! The alloy shield in Zhu Xuanyue's hand flew toward the prehistoric one's back like a cannonball. The black-robed man had no choice but to give up on the idea of killing Eva. He turned around and punched the alloy shield. Bang! A muffled sound that sounded like a gong rang out. A fist hole appeared in the middle of the alloy shield, and then it flew back toward Zhu Xuanyue. However, Zhu Xuanyue was no longer there. While the alloy shield was still flying in the air, her feet were already on the ground of the underground laboratory. Beep, beep, beep. A series of notifications suddenly rang out from the central control panel. Chapter 1144. Charlotte rolled down from the experiment table. His military uniform was torn by the shards of experimental equipment and glassware, but he couldn't care less. His eyes moved to the row of battery-shaped alloy containers. In his vision, the 6 alloy containers were filled with extremely pure white liquid. Charlotte's eyes then moved to the huge containers in the center of the underground laboratory. Only then did he realize that the 6 faceless warrior statues had disappeared. What was left was a large pile of black mineral residue, which looked like the powder of some kind of ore. Zhu Xuanyue's goal had been achieved, and all that was left was to take away the 6 battery-shaped alloy containers. If the black-robed prehistoric did not appear, no one could stop her. The black-robed prehistoric suddenly appeared, and it was hard to predict what direction her plan would develop in. The appearance of prehistoric was not a coincidence. Zhu Xuanyue sneaked into Area 51 by hiding in Kirsten's helicopter. As for him, he himself was a mass of energy. No security equipment in this world could detect his existence. Not even the heavenly god system. The appearance of prehistoric brought variables and broke the balance. Before this, Charlotte was at an absolute disadvantage because he couldn't even defeat Zhu Xuanyue, not to mention Zhu Xuanyue had 3 helpers. Just now, if prehistoric did not make a move, he was likely to be shot. Now that prehistoric appeared and intervened, as long as prehistoric stopped Zhu Xuanyue while he dealt with Kirsten, Charlotte, and Eva, it would not be a difficult task at all. The appearance of prehistoric made Charlotte, who was at an extreme disadvantage, instantly become the stronger party. The atmosphere in the underground laboratory became tense and subtle. Prehistoric did not make a move, and neither did Zhu Xuanyue. Justin stood in front of the central control panel, not daring to move. Eva dared not shoot at any target with the pistol in her hand. Charlotte did not move either. The Gale assault rifle in his hand had been bent out of shape. The only weapons left on him were a military knife and a Viper pistol. Both sides were in a deadlock with the prehistoric one as the center. After more than 10 seconds, Zhu Xuanyue finally moved towards the central control panel. The prehistoric voice suddenly came from under the black hood. Charlotte, stop her. I'll stop her. You kill his men and leave with the 6 containers. Charlotte shifted his gaze to Kirsten's direction. His hand reached behind his waist and pulled out the Viper pistol from its holster. Charlotte, Zhu Xuanyue said in a deep voice, Don't forget that he is your enemy. He's using you, and when he's done, he'll kill you. Charlotte's gaze shifted to the prehistoric one. He looked calm on the surface, but he was struggling and hesitating in his heart. It was not that he was wavering, but he knew better than anyone else that the black-robed man was not his friend at all, nor could they be allies. The prehistoric one was his enemy, a mortal enemy who would give him the ultimate judgment in a year's time. There was no need for Zhu Xianyue to remind him about this. He was now faced with two choices. He could either join forces with the prehistoric one and destroy Zhu Xuanyue's plan. But after that, Zhu Xianyue would treat him as her mortal enemy. He would also not be able to become friends with the prehistoric one. In a year's time, the prehistoric one would kill him. However, if he did not choose to help the black-robed man, Zhu Xuanyue's plan would succeed. He had a premonition, and it was definitely not a good premonition, because from the fact that Zhu Xuanyue's subordinate had become the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, her plan could not be a small one. "Do you know her identity?" the prehistoric one asked. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. "I don't know. She's not from this world. Her world has already been destroyed. She's a general. She and her subordinates came to this world. The people in this world are just food to her and her kind. This world is just a ranch. The energy she extracted from the 6 statues will help her build a channel. By then, more people like her will come to this world. When that time comes, no one will be able to stop them from destroying this world." After a pause, the prehistoric one said, "Her name is not Zhu Xianyue at all. It's Isatab. In Mayan language, it means the goddess of suicide." Isatab was Zhu Xuanyue's real name. She was a general from another corn, the goddess of suicide. Although Charlotte had already guessed that Zhu Xianyue was not a human from this world, he was still very surprised to hear her real name and identity from the prehistoric one. It was hard for him to accept it, and he did not want to use Isatab to call Zhu Xianyue. Zhu Xianyue was just a fake name, but to him it was an unforgettable past. There were also 2 women who were entangled with him, Peaceful and Gu Qian. Zhu Xuanyue's gaze moved to Charlotte. "Don't listen to his nonsense. He's lying to you. You should know who I am. I don't have any plans to build a channel. My people are no longer around. These 6 statues came to this world with me, and they are very important to me. Don't help him do stupid things. You're lying." The prehistoric one's voice was like a grenade exploding in the underground lab. The glass of some instruments shattered. "You're the one who's lying." Zhu Xuanyue's voice was as sharp as a knife. It lacked the dominance of the prehistoric one, but it had a stronger penetrating power. With her voice, more glassware turned into glass shards. Charlotte had experienced this before. When the prehistoric one roared, he adjusted his nerves and shut off his ear canal. Although this could not block all sounds, the prehistoric one's roar and Zhu Xuanyue's dolphin voice did not hurt him. He was fine, but Charlotte and Eva were hurt. Their ears were bleeding. To Charlotte's surprise, Kirsten did not seem to be hurt. He looked very calm. Just as Zhu Xianyue was confronting the prehistoric one, he quietly moved toward the 6 metal containers that contained batteries. "Charlotte, we'll talk about this later." The prehistoric one's voice was filled with authority and command. "For the peace of this world and the survival of billions of people, you should fight with me." "Ha ha ha!" Zhu Xianyue laughed coldly. "Don't think that I don't know your plan. You've been using him. You've been using him since the beginning. Do you care about the peace of this world? Do you care about the life and death of the people in this world?" She looked at Charlotte. "Charlotte, he has been deceiving you. You've been deceived by him once or twice. Do you want to be deceived by him forever? He doesn't belong to this world at all. His world has long been destroyed. Why would he care about the peace of this world? Why would he care about the life and death of the people in this world? Wake up. Don't be deceived by him anymore." Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, "Then tell me, what do you want to do with those things?" Zhu Xianyue shook her head. "I can't tell you. But you have to think about it. If you fight with him and ruin my plan, then we will be complete enemies. You know what that means. I will destroy everything you have now. Career, the vision to revitalize China. His family, 4 wives, 4 children, and Xia Shui. These were all things that he had and cherished. But once he became Zhu Xuanyue's complete enemy, she would destroy everything, and he had no ability to protect the Thunder Horse military factory, his women, children, family, and friends. This was a price that he couldn't afford, even if it was to save humanity. Was this really saving humanity? Charlotte didn't know at all, because he couldn't tell if the prehistoric one was lying to him, or if Zhu Xianyue was lying to him, or if both of them were lying to him. He had experienced one scam after another, and he wouldn't easily believe anyone, whether it was the prehistoric one or Zhu Xianyue. "What are you still hesitating for?" the prehistoric one roared. "If she gets what she wants, no one in this world will be able to survive when her kind comes. Think about your wife and children." "Charlotte," Zhu Xuanyue's voice was heard. "He will definitely kill you. After killing you, he won't leave your children behind. Your children have your genes. Do you think he will leave 4 descendants like you to avenge you?" That was the situation. The person that could have been killed by anyone earlier was now a key person that both sides were fighting for. Charlotte was like a small weight on a scale that could tip the balance. No matter which side it was placed on, the other side would lose the game. How should he choose? After a short silence, Charlotte suddenly laughed. "Ha ha ha! What are you laughing at?" the prehistoric one and Zhu Xianyue said in unison. Charlotte laughed so hard that he bent over. "In your eyes, I'm probably just a chess piece. It's only in such a situation that I've shown some value that you care about. If it was another situation, another time, none of you would care about me. You could even look down on my right to live and kill me casually." The prehistoric one and Zhu Xianyue didn't say anything. Charlotte continued, but he was no longer laughing. His voice was filled with sorrow. "One of you said that you want to destroy this world, and the other said that you want to save this world. You used my women and children to threaten me, to make me join your side against the other side. I've had enough, I've really had enough." He pointed at the black-robed man, the prehistoric one. "I won't join your side." He then pointed at Zhu Xianyue. "And you, I won't join your side either. You guys have fun, I'm leaving." With that, he really left. "Stop right there." The prehistoric one's voice was extremely cold. "I saved you, and you're going to leave just like that? Aren't you afraid that I'll come to China and kill you?" Xia Lei said indifferently, "You gave me time. You have your plan. Unless you want to destroy your plan, I won't. Although I don't know what your plan is, I know that you can't do without me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lived until now, right?" "You." The prehistoric one's eyes were frighteningly cold. But Charlotte wasn't afraid at all. He walked up the stairs and up the circular corridor. Then, he walked toward the entrance of the safety passage without looking back. He didn't care about the confrontation between the 2 sides below or the mysterious substance that had been extracted. As Charlotte left, Zhu Xianyue didn't stop him. The prehistoric one didn't stop him either. For Zhu Xianyue and the prehistoric one, at least for now, it was still relatively balanced. But if someone made a move against Charlotte, then Charlotte would be forced to stand on the other side. This was something that neither of them wanted to face. Charlotte disappeared down the stairs. Chapter 1145. Charlotte, who could change the balance of the game, was gone, and the balance of the game was maintained. The smell of gunpowder in the basement grew stronger. At this moment, all it would take was a spark, and this underground laboratory that was like a barrel of explosives would explode. Prehistoric Wei broke the silence in the underground laboratory. "You don't know why you like your real body. It makes you weaker. Zhu Xuanyue's voice was also very cold. I hate the cold. A real body can give me a warm feeling, warm blood, warm food, and a real sense of touch. How long has it been since you've had these feelings? I think you've forgotten about it, but you don't deserve to have these real feelings forever. You should be curled up in a dark and cold corner and not come out. Prehistoric Wei sneered and said disdainfully, I don't care about those feelings. I only care about my power. Do you think you can beat me in your current state? Zhu Xianhua said, You did win the last 2 times we fought, but that was when I was very hungry. You have no chance of beating me now. Is that so? Prehistoric Wei sneered. Then I'll have to try. You'll regret it. Zhu Xianhua then said to Kirsten, I'll deal with him. You guys take the things and leave, now. Yes, General. Kirsten then walked toward the 6 battery-shaped alloy containers. Eva and Selita also moved quickly to help Kirsten retrieve the alloy containers that contained the white liquid. Prehistoric Wei shook his head. Zhu Xianhua sneered. You can't stop me at all. Prehistoric Wei suddenly pounced at Zhu Xianhua. He didn't have a body, only a black robe. However, that bit of weight was like a speck of dust in the air to him, and his sudden movement was like a storm. Whoosh! With the sound of the wind, Prehistoric Wei instantly moved in front of Zhu Xianhua. One of his sleeves bulged up, bringing with it a violent and boundless energy that blasted towards Zhu Xianhua. Zhu Xianhua didn't dodge. She threw a punch at him. Boom! The entire underground laboratory trembled for a moment. The 2 strongest existences in the world had begun their battle. Xia Lei, who had just withdrawn from Area 51, suddenly felt the tremor of the ground and heard the dull and loud sound of impact. It sounded like a bomb going off, but he knew that it wasn't a bomb going off at all. It was a clash of energy between the Prehistoric One and Zhu Xianhua. His heart was filled with worry. Both his opponents were so powerful. How could he survive? What could he do to protect his woman and child? An ear-piercing alarm suddenly sounded, and the lights of searchlights and the headlights of military vehicles came from the surroundings of the AE Research Center, as well as the American soldiers who were running towards them at full speed. After all, this was Area 51, the most important and mysterious military base in the United States. It had the fastest emergency response mechanism in the world. Charlotte did not dare to stay for even a second longer. He aimed at a direction where no American soldiers had appeared and sprinted in that direction as fast as he could. A distance of 100 meters in 5 seconds. His speed was comparable to the fastest cheetah on land. As soon as Charlotte left the AE Research Center, the entire AE Research Center was surrounded by the American Army. Tanks, combat vehicles, heavy machine guns mounted on military SUVs, and assault rifles in the hands of the American soldiers were all aimed at the gate of the AE Research Center. Guns were everywhere. At this time, even if a bird flew out from inside, it would be torn to pieces by bullets and artillery shells, let alone a person running out from inside. The person in command of the operation was Thompson. Of course, he was not at the forefront, but behind the line of fire formed by tanks, combat vehicles, and American soldiers. Boom! Another dull explosion came from the AE Research Center, and the entire ground was shaking. Thompson frowned, his heart burning with anxiety. James is too impulsive. He's too reckless, he's going to kill me. With so many people, does he expect me to give him the green light when he comes out, or even drive him away personally? Bastard! He is an idiot. General, we can't see the situation inside. A colonel walked to the front of Thompson's car and said through the window, Should we send people in or wait outside? No need to send people in, Thompson said angrily. Surround this place. No matter who comes out later, open fire immediately. But what if someone from the AE Research Center comes out? The colonel said. Thompson changed his tone and said, Of course we can't open fire, but we definitely can't compromise with the invaders. In short, open fire depending on the situation. This was a vague order. The colonel who came to ask for instructions shrugged and then went to pass on Thompson's instructions. Thompson got out of the car and walked over to Jenny. He moved closer to Jenny's ear and whispered, "Later, no matter who comes out from inside, you and your people open fire. It doesn't matter if they use guns or cannons, blow them all up." Jenny glanced at Thompson and lowered her voice. "This is not a problem that can be solved with a promotion," Thompson whispered, "at another $50,000. Jenny smiled. "Then there's no problem." Thompson seemed to have let go of something on his mind. He was not as nervous and angry as before. He looked at the entrance of the AE Research Center with cold and disdainful eyes. He thought to himself, "James, do you think you can control me? Don't be naive. I've already earned $20 million from you. That is enough for me. When you come out later, I will watch you die with my own eyes. If you die, the evidence in your hands will no longer be a threat to me. Only when you are dead will I be at peace." At the same time, next to a warehouse 500 meters away, Charlotte withdrew his gaze. A cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Although he was not there and was 500 meters away, he still heard the secret conversation between Thompson and Jenny. At 500 meters, he could not hear the whispers between Thompson and Jenny, but he still used the lip-reading spell to decipher the conversation between the two. "Thompson, I understand your difficulties, but please understand what I'm going to do next." Charlotte turned around and walked to the warehouse entrance. Two heavily armed American soldiers stood at the entrance of the warehouse. Behind them was a B-2 bomber. The B-2 bomber was the most advanced bomber in the world. It had stealth capabilities and was almost impossible to be detected by radar when flying at high altitude. It also had the largest bomb load in the world, as high as 22,680 kilograms. Its price was also the most expensive in the world, as high as $2 billion. There were only 20 of them in the world, and one of them was here. "Stop!" One of the American soldiers guarding the warehouse saw Charlotte coming out from the corner and immediately shouted a warning. The other even raised the assault rifle in his hand and aimed it at Xiaolei. Charlotte said, "Brother, don't be nervous. Do you have a light? I want to smoke a joint. If you guys want to smoke, I have some extra. We can have some fun together." The two American soldiers guarding the warehouse looked at each other and smiled. Marijuana was an essential thing in the U.S. military. Who would refuse a free joint? "I have a light, give us one." The soldier holding the rifle put down his assault rifle and looked at Charlotte expectantly. Charlotte walked over and reached for a cigarette. But what he took out was not a joint, but a military knife. The moment his hand came out of the military jacket, a cold light cut the neck of the American soldier standing next to him. His hand did not stop. After cutting the neck of the American soldier next to him, he suddenly swung the blood-stained military knife into the chest of another American soldier. Right in the heart, the second American soldier fell to the ground before he could scream. Charlotte found a pass from a soldier and stuffed it into the card reader at the gate. The gate suddenly opened and a big black bird entered his sight. "Baby, how about I take you for a ride and then I'll light it up?" Charlotte smiled as he walked to the B-2 strategic bomber. He did not need to check the magazine to see the ammunition inside. The B-2 strategic bomber was not fully loaded. There were no nuclear bombs. There were only 8,227 kilogram Mk-82 bombs, 16 joint direct attack weapons, 16 908 kilogram Mk-84 bombs, 36 M117 incendiary bombs, and 36 CBU cluster bombs. Just this amount of ammunition was enough to turn a small city upside down. The fuel was also not full, only half of the mailbox. However, with the B-2 bomber's flight ability, it was enough for him to swim in the western Pacific Ocean. He opened the cabin door and entered the cockpit. The array of instruments made Charlotte dizzy. He had never flown a plane before, let alone the world's most advanced strategic bomber. However, this was not a difficult task for him, who had developed the Jinka drone and the Ghost drone. 2 minutes later, the B-2's engine started, and the huge bat-shaped body slowly slid out of the warehouse. After entering the runway, the B-2 strategic bomber began to accelerate and sprinted to the end of the runway. "Stop!" The voice of the air control panel came from the B-2 strategic bomber's communication device. "I don't have any flight permission here. You are suspected of illegally operating a fighter jet." Charlotte said, "I have a secret order from the President to immediately take off for an important mission, mission number TMD 789654. Wait, I need to check." But in the anxious voice of the guy in the air control panel, the B-2 strategic bomber had already taken off and sprinted into the endless night sky. "Hey! You will be in military court. Come back." Charlotte ripped off the communication device. The B-2 strategic bomber flew higher and higher under his control and disappeared into the night sky in the blink of an eye. On the ground, Thompson turned around and was stunned for a moment before he said, "Didn't a B-2 take off just now? Without the order from the President and the Pentagon, no one can move that plane. What happened?" Jenny said, "I think it took off. Who knows, maybe it went to South Korea. I heard that we have always wanted to deploy a B-2 in South Korea. I don't know what those guys are thinking, but it's none of our business. Remember what I just told you," Thompson said. Jenny nodded and lowered her voice. "General, don't worry. I have already given the order. No matter who comes out, my people will bomb them." Thompson smiled. His brain drew a picture for him. James walked out of the gate of the AE Research Center. In an instant, rockets, shells, and bullets flew over like a storm. In the rumbling explosion, James was blown into pieces. Poor James did not understand what happened until he died. The picture changed. On a beautiful island, next to a luxurious seaside villa, he was chaining a few blonde beauties. They dressed up as beautiful girls to please him. They were all in bikinis with big boobs and big butt. He could do whatever he wanted with them because he had $20 million, but at this time, the air defense alarm suddenly went off. Chapter 1146. Woo woo woo. The air raid siren sounded throughout the military base. It attracted everyone's attention to the sky, but the people on the ground couldn't see anything. What happened? Thompson was inexplicably nervous. He felt that this should be a drill, but if it was a drill, he should know, but he didn't know anything. "I don't know, could it be?" Jenny thought of the plane that was suspected to be a B-2. A second later, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Bomb, ah!" Thompson looked up again, and in his field of vision, a pile of Mk-84 bombs fell from the sky. He could see them because they were too big. Each one of them weighed almost a ton. Boom! The first Mk-84 bomb hit the top of the circular building of the AE Research Center. In an instant, the earth shook and the mountains shook, and flames rose to the sky. The shock wave of the explosion overturned the building. It felt like tearing a piece of cardboard. Before the shock wave of the first Mk-84 bomb was fully released, the second, the third rumble, the circular building of the AE Research Center disappeared in an instant. The combat vehicles, tanks, and soldiers surrounding the AE Research Center were turned into fragments in the shock wave and flames of the explosion. They turned into steam and were swallowed in the blink of an eye. After a round of Mk-84 bombing, a CBU cluster bomb also fell on a runway. In an instant the earth shook. After the mother bomb exploded, countless bullets also exploded one after another. The entire runway was destroyed. An F-18 fighter that was preparing to take off for combat was also hit by a bullet and instantly turned into a fireball. More ammunition poured from the sky, and the entire Area 51 was in a sea of fire. The world's most advanced B-2 strategic bomber bombed the world's most mysterious military base. Who would have thought such a thing would happen? In the sky, in the B-2 bomber, Charlotte's expression was a bit twisted. In this bombing, he bombed the AE Research Center the most. He almost bombed it several times. With this level of bombardment, not to mention humans, even a mountain would have been razed to the ground. Kill me? Kill my women and children? Ha ha! Charlotte couldn't help but laugh loudly. His laughter had a hint of malevolence in it, and it looked terrifying. He was forced into a corner by prehistoric Wei and Zhu Xianwei, but they still wanted to use his woman and child to threaten him. Was it too much to bomb them like this? It was not excessive at all. The B-2 strategic bomber flew towards Mexico. What should be done had been done. The only thing left to do was to retreat. 5 minutes later, Charlotte set the B-2 strategic bomber to autopilot, changed the route, and flew in the direction of Hawaii while he ejected from the cockpit. Although the B-2 strategic bomber was the most advanced bomber in the world and had the ability to become invisible, its stealth ability was inferior to that of the Wraith drone and the Jinka drone. It was not invisible in the true sense of the word. The United States had the ability to discover it, and he was also certain that there would be no less than 50 fighter jets flying over from other military bases at this time. If he did not escape from the B-2 strategic bomber in time, he would lose his chance to escape. The B-2 strategic bomber continued to fly, but Charlotte had already descended from the sky and landed in a desert on the west side of Las Vegas. There was an abandoned building in this wilderness, about a kilometer away from him. He was not unfamiliar with the building because it was the place where Alice was imprisoned. He didn't just find a random place to land. This was just part of his retreat plan. However, he did not expect that he would jump from the B-2 strategic bomber. In the original plan, after he finished in Area 51, Thompson drove him out, and then he came here to drive the Ferrari sports car he bought for Alice to San Diego, and then take a route to Mexico. There would always be unexpected changes in the plan. After disposing of the positioning device and parachute on the seat, Charlotte walked to the abandoned building. He had already seen a brand new Ferrari sports car parked in the garage, and some things he prepared early in the morning. Not only the Ferrari sports car and supplies, but also a woman, Alice. Opening the basement door, Alice entered Xia Lei's line of sight. There was not a single piece of cloth on her body, and her skin was as smooth as the petals of a magnolia. She lay on her side on the bed with her back facing the door. Her plump buttocks and slender waist formed a seductive curve, but what troubled him was the mysterious and mature scenery. Charlotte had just experienced a massacre. He did not know how many people died in his hands. He was very nervous every second in the past, and the adrenaline in his body had been maintained at a high level. At this time, he suddenly relaxed, but faced with such a beautiful temptation, his reaction was naturally more intense than usual. Seeing the mature and attractive Alice, Charlotte could not help but have an impulse in his heart. He wanted to rush up, enter Alice's body, and release all the things accumulated in his heart and body. This impulse made his mouth dry, and the fabric of his pants became tense. Alice did not notice someone coming in at all. She seemed to be in a dream. Her small mouth intermittently made some strange sleep-talking sounds. The sounds sounded painful, but also seemed to be very comfortable. If one guessed the dream she was having from her dreams, one would come to a very adult conclusion. Especially after seeing the traces and reactions of a certain part of her body, the conclusion was actually obvious. This was a greater temptation and trouble for Charlotte. The desire he suppressed in his heart and body became stronger. He walked over, and his eyes were red. Looking at Alice's beautiful and attractive body, the scene of a bomb tearing apart a human body and the burning flames appeared in his mind. He did not know how many people he killed tonight, but he knew that many people were innocent. They had parents, wives, and children at home, and they had no grievances with him. But this was war, and war was cruel. Those who delusively wanted to start a war would never understand the cruelty of war. Only those who experienced it would understand it. The color revolution in the UA did not bring democracy and freedom to Ukraine and Syria, but war. The people there were suffering from the flames of war. Shells, bombs, and the corpses of their loved ones were constantly destroying their bodies and mind. Now, the same thing had happened to the Americans. He did not know how they felt. No. Alice's small mouth spat out a string of relatively clear words, as if she was rejecting something in her dream, but her waist gently twisted as if she was cooperating with something. Charlotte's thoughts were forcibly pulled back by her, and his mind returned to the beautiful and moving reality again. He took a deep breath and finally suppressed the desire in his heart and body. He, who piloted a strategic bomber to bomb Area 51, was undoubtedly a devil. What he wanted to do to Alice just now was also a devil. If he really did it, what was the difference between him and the devil? Charlotte walked to the bed, reached out, patted Alice on the shoulder, and said softly, "Alice, wake up." Alice groaned but did not wake up. Charlotte smiled bitterly. He asked Akiko Tsukino to help Alice put on her clothes, but Akiko Tsukino did not seem to take it to heart, so Alice was still naked. Charlotte reached out and patted Alice's buttocks again. This time, he used a little more force and made a loud sound. Alice suddenly opened her eyes and turned her head to peep like a startled big white rabbit. She saw a man sitting by the bed, but because there was no light, she only saw a blurred image and did not know who it was. A second later, she screamed. "Aw!" Charlotte suddenly reached out and covered her mouth. "It's me, James. Don't scream." "James?" Alice was stunned on the spot. Charlotte released the hand covering Alice's mouth. "It's me. Don't be nervous. You're safe now." Alice recognized Charlotte's voice. She suddenly turned over and threw herself into Charlotte's arms. "James, my James, it's really you, it's really you." Her body was plump and soft, especially when the special shock absorber hit his chest. Charlotte's body also stiffened. The desire that he had suppressed with great difficulty rose again, and the resurrected desire was even stronger. "James, I thought I would never see you again." Because of excitement, Alice's voice trembled a little. "I thought you wouldn't pay the ransom to those kidnappers, and I would die here, but I didn't expect you to really come to save me. Do you know? Just now I dreamed of you. You were like Rambo, killing your way here and saving me, then." "And then?" Charlotte relaxed. He said with a smile, "And then what?" Alice moved closer to Xiaolei's ear, bit his ear and said, "You know, it's just like those hero saves the damsel in distress movies. You save me, so I'll save your little brother." Charlotte. No wonder she made that kind of sound in her dream, and there were obvious traces of the dream on her body. What about those kidnappers? Alice suddenly thought of something. Charlotte said, "I paid the ransom, and they all left. They wanted money, and I satisfied them. They won't hurt you. Here, is it just the two of us?" Alice said. Charlotte said, "Yes, it's just the two of us here." "Okay, get up, put on your clothes, and let's get out of here." "Where are we going? England?" "We'll go to San Diego first, and then to London, England. I promised you we'll go see the real James, and you'll be his Bond girl," Charlotte said with a smile. Alice was just a cover for his identity. When he reached San Diego, he would disappear without a trace. This meeting would also be the last time he and Alice would meet, and there would be no next time. But even though he knew they were going to separate, he still wanted to leave a good memory for this woman who had helped him a lot. But just as Charlotte finished speaking, Alice suddenly leaned over and kissed his lips. Her waist twisted restlessly, showing that she needed and couldn't wait. Charlotte pushed her away. "Do you want those kidnappers to come back and extort a ransom from me again? We have to get out of here. It's not safe here." "James, but I want to give you the treatment of a hero." Alice looked unwilling. Charlotte smiled. It's a long way to San Diego, and we have plenty of time. Alice smiled. 2 minutes later, a red Ferrari sports car was running on the abandoned road, bumping non-stop. Alice's head was also bumping non-stop. As a beauty saved by a hero, it was natural to give the hero the treatment he deserved. In the sky, several F-35 fighter jets roared past and flew toward Area 51. However, no one knew that the person they were chasing was right below them, enjoying the treatment of a hero while driving. Chapter 1147. What happened in Area 51 last night was not reported by any media. It was as if it never happened. Charlotte was not surprised by such a cold treatment. He could also guess the fate of the B-2. It would either be shot down by fighters or run out of fuel and crash into the sea. In short, it would not return to the ground safely without anyone piloting it. There was one less B-2 strategic bomber in the world, and the number of 20 was reduced to 19. But even if there were 19, no country in the world could withstand the bombing of 19 B-2 strategic bombers. The UA still had an absolute advantage in the air, and it was not something that a few Brambles and Ghost drones could reverse. However, in the process of piloting the B-2 strategic bomber to bomb Area 51 last night, Charlotte also received a lot of tips and inspiration. This experience would accelerate the birth of Rema Group's strategic bomber. Charlotte did not care about the fate of Area 51 and the B-2 strategic bomber at all. What he cared about was the people at the AE Research Center at the time, Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric One. He razed the AE Research Center to the ground and bombed it several times, but he could not be sure whether he killed Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric One. From a normal point of view, even Zhu Xianwei and the Prehistoric Only One would not be able to escape the fate of being annihilated by the bombardment last night. However, without seeing it with their own eyes, it was impossible to make a conclusion on this matter. After all, Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric One were immortal existences. Even if they didn't die, they must have been seriously injured, right? If they really didn't die and were only injured, then my fate is still in their hands, and I don't have much time left. Once they recover, the first person they will look for will probably be me, right? I have to make some preparations. Charlotte thought of this in his heart, but his mood was still heavy. His location was no longer in Las Vegas, but in a road hotel in San Diego. The dawn dispelled the darkness, shone through the window, and shone on Alice's pert buttocks. Golden sunlight, snow-white buttocks, the beauty of a woman was undoubtedly revealed. Alice was still in a sweet dream. The man she liked was a Middle Eastern prince who was willing to pay a huge ransom for her. She was about to go to London to meet Daniel Craig, become his new Bond girl, and become the new favorite of the film and television industry. Overnight, her entire life's wishes and dreams came true. She felt that she was the luckiest woman in the world. In this sweet dream, she did not want to wake up. A Ford Pathfinder stopped on the side of the road. The window was rolled down, and a woman stuck her head out of the window and looked at Charlotte standing on the balcony. Akiko Tsukino came and she waved to Charlotte. Alice's throat emitted a string of graceful moans. "No, be gentle." Charlotte took his equipment bag and left the room. Getting into the Ford Pathfinder, Charlotte saw the 4 members of the Zodiac team looking at him with eyes full of awe and surprise. He shrugged his shoulders. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Boss, Area 51 was razed to the ground last night." "You?" Siamu swallowed. "How did you do it?" Charlotte said lightly, "I blew it up with a B-2. B-2? Oh my God!" Angumi Khan looked horrified. "That thing is worth more than $2 billion. Where did you put it?" Charlotte said, "It should have crashed by now." The 4 members of the Zodiac team were speechless. "Drive to Mexico and then go home," Charlotte said. Akiko Tsukino started the Ford Pathfinder and entered the road, then sped away. An hour later, Alice left her sweet dream. She reached for James's waist and hugged a pillow. She opened her eyes. James was not beside her, nor was he in the room. She got up from the bed and found a note and a bank card on the bedside table. She hurriedly picked up the note. 2 streams of hot tears flowed down from Alice's eyes. As night fell, a Ford Pathfinder came to the town of Verde Sombrero on the outskirts of Tijuana. The town had no lights and was dark. Initially, considering that the residents of the town and the brothers and sisters of the rescue organization would be threatened by the Tijuana gang, he had asked Giovanna and the rest to evacuate them. It was normal that there were no lights now. However, the darkness was only temporary. Just as the Ford Pathfinder stopped in front of the church suddenly lit up. A large group of armed men poured out from the church and the opposite building. There were at least 200 of them. The armed men had all sorts of equipment and clothes, and all of them looked fierce. These were the armed men recruited by Giovanna, Teresa, Stella, and Rosa in Colombia, and some of them were from the Rescue Society. "We're on the same side." Giovanna walked out of the church and said loudly, "Disperse!" Teresa, Stella, and Rosa followed behind Giovanna. 4 women, 2 faces, no matter from which angle, they were very pleasing to the eye. The armed men who surrounded the Ford Pathfinder quickly dispersed. Charlotte and the others got out of the car. Giovanna said, "This is to prevent a sneak attack from the Tijuana Mafia," so Charlotte smiled and moved closer to Giovanna's ear. "No need to explain. You did nothing wrong and they did nothing wrong. I'm relieved to see you come back safely. Now you're reprimanding me and treating me like a subordinate." "Huh." Giovanna didn't understand Charlotte's motives. Charlotte whispered, "I'll explain it to you later. Hurry up, reprimand me. You can also slap me and say that I didn't do a good job." This reprimanding Charlotte had already put Giovanna in a difficult position. She couldn't slap Charlotte in front of so many people. Charlotte glared at Giovanna, urging her with his eyes. "Okay." Giovanna took a step back, and her tone suddenly changed from a gentlewoman to a tigress. She roared fiercely at Charlotte, "How did you do it? I gave you so much money and you still failed. You're simply trash." Charlotte lowered his head, not daring to look into Giovanna's eyes. However, he lowered his voice and said, "Hit me." Giovanna waved her hand and slapped Charlotte's face. A crisp sound rang out. Giovanna didn't slap very hard, but the sound was very clear. Rosa, Stella, and Teresa, who were standing behind her, subconsciously frowned. They felt as if that slap had landed on their faces. At this moment, Akiko Tsukino walked to Charlotte's side. She lowered her head slightly and said with a serious expression, "I have bad news to tell you." Giovanna was stunned. "What?" "Boss," Akiko Tsukino said in a sorrowful tone, "Boss is already dead." Giovanna stared at Charlotte fiercely. Wasn't Boss right in front of her? What nonsense was Akiko Tsukino talking about? Charlotte said, "Yes, Boss is already dead. Last night, he was killed in an explosion in Area 51. Boss, he sob, was blown into pieces. He died so miserably," he cried. When such words came out of Charlotte's mouth, Giovanna, Rosa, Stella, and Teresa understood Charlotte's intentions. They then began to cooperate with Charlotte's plot and entered their respective roles. "Bastard! I'm going to kill them!" Giovanna roared angrily. Stella lowered her head and rubbed her eyes. She secretly dipped her finger in the corner of her mouth and wiped it on the corner of her eyes. Rosa pulled out her pistol and fired at the sky. "I'm going to kill them. I'm going to avenge Boss." Bang, 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 bang. Gunshots rang out. Most of the people who fired were the brothers and sisters of the rescue group. They were really sad because in their hearts, Charlotte was the son of God, a godlike existence. How could they not be sad that he was dead? This was what Charlotte had thought about for a long time on the way here before deciding to do. He blew up Area 51, as well as Yu Xianwei and Prehistoric Way. Whether it was the United States, Prehistoric Wei, or Zhu Xianwei, they would not let him go. If Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric Wei were killed in the explosion, it would be good. But without seeing their bodies, he had to prepare for the worst. That was to assume that Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric Wei were not killed in the explosion. They were just injured and scared that he would have to face the revenge. With the desire for revenge from the three powerful enemies, the United States, Zhu Xianwei, and Prehistoric Wei, pretending to be dead was the best choice. Area 51 was blown to pieces, and many of the corpses had turned into minced meat that could not be cleaned up. He spread the news that he was killed in the explosion and then disappeared. Except for Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric Wei, what could the United States do to him? As soon as the news of Charlotte's death spread, the situation became a little out of control. The brothers and sisters of the rescue group shouted for revenge, and the hired armed men were worried that they would not receive the rest of the payment. Giovanna had a hard time controlling the situation, and then she returned to the church with Charlotte and the 4 members of the Zodiac team. Charlotte entered an underground secret room in the church. The women of the Gray and Russo families, as well as the 4 members of the Zodiac team, were all waiting for his next instructions. Charlotte said, "Continue to spread the news that I am dead. In addition, let the hired armed men attack the FA organization's forces in Mexico. Money is not a problem. As long as they are willing to fight, they can make the money they want. In short, we have to create the illusion that I am dead, and you will start to crazily seek revenge." "Well, we know what to do," Giovanna said, and then reached out to touch Charlotte's face. "Did I hurt you?" A smile appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. "This pain is nothing. As long as I can get back some peace, it is worth it to be stabbed." Giovanna was still touching Charlotte's cheek. Akiko Tsukino coughed. Only then did Giovanna retract her hand. Charlotte said a little awkwardly, "Is the plane ready?" Rosa said, "Yes, the Russian transport plane is already waiting for us at the airport." Charlotte said, "Then let's go. Leave this place to the armed men, and we will go back to China." "But there is no one to command the attack on the FA organization. Is that okay?" Giovanna said with some worry. Charlotte said, "Don't worry about the result. We are fighting a war of agents. We only need to spend money. I never expected those mobs to be able to defeat the FA organization. All I want is to hurt the FA organization and make it look like I am dead." "If that's the case, then there is no problem. We will go back to China with you," Giovanna said, her face full of smiles. None of the women of the Gray and Russo families were willing to stay in Mexico. As Charlotte's knights, of course, they had to follow Charlotte closely. Charlotte said, "When we return to China this time, not only me, but you also have to disappear. We can no longer live in peace residence. We have to find another place." In the secret room, the 4 members of the Zodiac squad and the 4 female knights nodded together. Chapter 1148. 2 weeks later, China. Da-da, da-da, woo-woo. In a small antique living room, a little boy was crawling around on the carpet, making sounds that sounded like he was talking. The little guy was chubby and looked very sturdy. He did not look like a 1-month-old child at all. The little guy was Liang Xiao's son, Liang Jiu. Behind Liang Jiu were 3 little kids, Xia Long, Xia Jianghe, and Xia Fan. 2 sons and 2 daughters were crawling around the living room, chasing after their father, Charlotte. Of course, Charlotte was also on the ground. He was kneeling on the floor, using his hands and feet to crawl around on the carpet. His 4 children were chasing after him, squealing and giggling. The 4 children's mothers were also standing by the side, watching their man playing with their children, laughing non-stop. The scene was very heartwarming, and the people in the painting were also very happy. After returning from the United States, Charlotte moved out of Ping and residence with his wife and children, and moved into this place. This place was a residential area for family members. It looked ordinary, but the people who lived here were not ordinary. The security measures in this residential area were not any lower than the security measures in the White House. Only Charlotte could enjoy this privilege and live here as a civilian. If it was someone else, even the governor of a province would not have the right. Living here could remove the eyes of the spies and agents of the United States and Japan, and make his death more realistic, thus numbing the enemy. Another advantage was that he could better protect his wife and children, and at the same time, he could have more time to study the fighter jets and bombers belonging to the Rema Group. Now, on the surface, the Rema Group was in a state of no leader, and was controlled by a few corps members, but in reality, it was Charlotte who was controlling it remotely. If someone had to sign something, all 4 of his legal wives could sign it. In fact, not only were his wives and children protected, but even Charlotte was secretly protected. She was sent to a very safe place, and all her classes were taught by specialized professors. Even if Ryu Youngnam wanted to meet him, he needed a special agent to arrange it. With these arrangements, Charlotte had actually made plans for the future. He would let his 4 wives gradually control the Rema Group and cultivate his sister, Xia Shui, so that she could manage the Rema Group with several sisters-in-law in the future and contribute to the construction of the Rema Group. In fact, until now, Charlotte still had a hope in his heart. That was, in the operation of Area 51, he was lucky enough to kill Zhu Xianyue and Prehistoric One. If that was the case, there would be almost no one in this world who could threaten him. He could live happily for the rest of his life. But hope was, after all, not reality. As long as he was not sure that Zhu Xianyue and Prehistoric One were dead, he had to prepare for the worst. Liang Jieyu finally caught up with Charlotte. He raised his chubby little hand and wanted to pat Charlotte's butt, but his little hand was too short, and he patted the soles of Charlotte's feet. His little hand scratched the soles of Charlotte's feet, and Charlotte couldn't help but laugh. "Brat, you already know how to tickle Daddy at such a young age. Do you believe that Daddy will spank your little butt?" Xia Lei put on the appearance of a strict father and really reached out to pat Liang Jieyu lightly. Wah! Liang Jieyu seemed to be frightened by his father, and he cried. Charlotte was a little dumbfounded. Liang Xiao walked over, pressing Charlotte's waist with one hand, and slapping Charlotte's butt with the other, teaching him a lesson. "Your son is still so young, and yet you spank him. If you spank him, I will spank you." Pa. Charlotte didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ha ha ha. Liang Jieyu laughed so hard that he drooled. Liang Xiao slapped Charlotte's butt while trying to please her son. "Son, if your father bullies you in the future, tell Mommy, and I will help you." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Xiao, don't you spoil your son too much? You will spoil him too much. When he is a little older, I won't spoil him anymore," Liang Xiao said with a doting look on her face. Charlotte was a little speechless. From Liang Xiao's doting eyes and expression, he could roughly guess that the "a little older" that Liang Xiao was referring to was when Liang Jieyu was 18 years old. However, thinking about how Liang Xiao had gone through so many twists and turns to get together with him, and how could she not spoil Liang Jieyu when she finally had Liang Jieyu? At this moment, Xiao Long suddenly climbed up and slapped Liang Jieyu's butt. Liang Jieyu was stunned for a moment, and then he started crying again. Liang Xiao hugged Liang Jieyu in her arms and coaxed, "Io, Mommy's good son, don't cry, oh, don't cry." Long Bing hurried over to carry Xiao Long, and then she slapped Charlotte's little butt. "Why did you hit Big Brother? You don't listen to me." Charlotte chuckled, not at all bothered by Long Bing's slap. Moreover, he was smiling at Charlotte. His eyes seemed to be saying to Charlotte, "Daddy, I've avenged you." Xia Jianghe and Xia Fan crawled over. One of them bit Charlotte's hand and the other grabbed Charlotte's nose. They were making noises as if they were saying something. Charlotte picked up the 2 precious daughters, kissed Xia Jianghe and then Xia Fan. Then he smiled and said, "Daddy's good daughters, are you hungry? If you are, Daddy will let your mommy feed you milk, okay?" Xia Jianghe grinned, and made a clearer sound from her little mouth. "Howl come." Charlotte was stunned for a moment. In his opinion, Xia Jianghe's howl seemed to correspond to okay, and come seemed to correspond to milk. He was talking about letting Jiang Rui feed Xia Jianghe, and Xia Jianghe seemed to have given the correct response, but the problem was, she was only a 1-year-old baby. How could she have such clear thinking? How could her pronunciation be so reliable? "Mommy, mommy." Xia Fan suddenly waved her little hands and smacked her lip. "Come, come, come." Charlotte was completely dumbfounded. If Xia Jianghe's pronunciation was already beyond what he could accept, then his and Fan Fan's daughter, Xia Fan's performance was even more terrifying. She could already call out "mommy" clearly. Each of the 4 children had different mothers, so their situations were also different. In Charlotte's heart, he had a general impression that his and Fan Fan's daughter, Xia Fan, was the smartest, followed by his and Jiang Rui's daughter, Xia Jianghe. The 2 daughters' personalities were also different. Xia Jianghe was shy and quiet, while Xia Fan was more open and lively. As for his 2 sons, Liang Jieyu, the son of him, and Liang Xiao, was naturally active and had the strongest physique. He was made for practicing martial arts. Charlotte, the son of him, and Long Bing, was better at observing and dealing with things around him. He was optimistic and his personality was actually more like his father's. Just as Charlotte was thinking about his children, the 2 young ladies called out, "Come, come, come." Fan Fan and Jiang Rui looked at each other awkwardly. They really wanted to feed their baby daughters, but in front of a big pervert and the children's 2nd and 3rd mothers, they couldn't lift their clothes. Charlotte was unhappy. "Fan Fan, Rui, what's wrong with you 2? Didn't you hear that the children want to drink milk? Hurry up and feed them. The children are still growing, they can't be hungry. Then go out and hide for a while." Jiang Rui said, blushing. Fan Fan also said, "Yes, if you go out, we will feed the children." Charlotte didn't move an inch, and with a serious expression, he said, "I am the children's father, I have the right to see them drink milk, and I have a certificate to prove my right." In the whole of China, he was the only man who had 4 wives, and it was a legally protected marriage. This was indeed a very impressive thing, and he did have the right to see his children drink milk. In the circle, Xia Jianghe said, "Drink milk." Xia Fan's voice. Charlotte shrugged and said proudly, "Did you hear that? I have the right, the children also want to drink milk. Look at how proud you are. Give the children to me, I will feed them." Jiang Rui compromised. She carried Xia Jianghe over, lifted up her clothes, pulled out a snow-white breast, and stuffed it into Xia Jianghe's little mouth. When Xia Jianghe was eating, she said, "You only know how to collude with your father to bully your mother. You love your father so much, why don't you go to him to drink milk?" Charlotte, Fan Fan also hugged Xia Fan, pulled out a snow-white breast to feed Xia Fan, and scolded her man while breastfeeding, "Have you seen enough? You're so shameless." Charlotte smiled and leaned over, lifted up the other side of Fan Fan's clothes, and opened his mouth. "I'm hungry too, I want to eat some too." "Oh, how can you do this? You can't eat, go away, go away." Fan Fan was embarrassed and annoyed, but there was also a bit of desire in her heart. It was a very contradictory feeling. But before Charlotte could eat, Xia Fan slapped Charlotte's eyes, his big black eyes staring at her father, afraid that Charlotte would take away his food. Liang Xiao and Long Bing were amused by Xia Fan. "Come, come, come." Xia Long saw his 2 little sisters drinking milk, and he also became addicted, his 2 little hands constantly grabbing at Long Bing's clothes. "You little guy, you want to join in the fun too? Have you and your father been through?" Long Bing laughed at her son, but he still obediently lifted up his clothes, and stuffed a snow-white breast into Xia Long's little mouth. Xia Long began to eat, and even winked at Charlotte. Charlotte felt that Xiao Long was about to become a demon. The other 3 children all had milk to drink, so how could Liang Jieyu be obedient? He also began to grab at Liang Xiao's clothes, shouting, "Come, come, come." Liang Xiao had no choice but to lift up her clothes, pull out a snow-white breast, and feed Liang Jieyu. The living room suddenly became a spectacular scene. The 4 children all had snow-white breasts, and the sound of slurping was endless. Charlotte looked from one wife to the other, his face full of intoxication and satisfaction. After a while, "Xiao, can I have some?" Charlotte moved to Liang Xiao's side and asked eagerly. Liang Xiao smiled. "Sure. Even if you didn't eat it now, you'll still come to eat it at night. I don't mind feeding you earlier or later, but our son is awake. If you want to eat it, you have to ask for his permission. If he allows it, you can eat it." After saying that, she lifted up the other side of her clothes, as if she was going to feed a big baby at any time. Charlotte moved closer. "Son, Daddy will eat with you, okay?" Liang Jieyu stretched out his little hand, and 2 of his little fingers immediately inserted into Charlotte's nostrils, and he was even digging. "He doesn't agree." Liang Xiao felt that she put down her clothes, not caring at all. Charlotte shamelessly moved closer to Long Bing again. "Ah Bing, my condition is the same as Xiao's. If our son agrees, I will satisfy you," Long Bing said with a smile, and then she also lifted up the other side of her clothes. Charlotte tried to sound him out. "Son, Daddy's good son, can you let Daddy eat some too? Daddy is so pitiful, Daddy is starving to death." Strangely enough, Xiao Long actually nodded. Long Bing panicked. "No, no, it doesn't count." He clearly shook his head. Charlotte said, "Why are you still being so shameless?" Our son clearly nodded. He shook his head. Long Bing continued to deny it, and her pretty face turned red. At this moment, Xiao Long suddenly moved his little mouth away, and a very clear voice came out. "Okay." Long Bing was stunned on the spot. Xiao Lei nodded and moved closer. "What do you want?" "Shameless." Long Bing was at her wits' end. But in her arms, her husband and son blinked at each other. Then, she felt terrible all over. The other 3 women laughed. The living room was filled with happiness and joy. Chapter 1149. There were no cooks in the new house, so Charlotte cooked for them himself. There were 5 people in the family, 4 for milk and 5 for food. The dinner was very lively. The 4 children were not only very smart, but also had a big appetite. Even if they drank milk, it was several times the amount of ordinary children. No wonder the 4 mothers were reluctant to feed their big babies a little, because it was not enough. This seemed to be the reason why the 4 children could crawl and talk in front of people when they were only a month old. 2 sons and 2 daughters were born with geniuses, destined to be extraordinary from birth. After dinner, Charlotte said with a smile, "Wives, let's sleep together tonight." "Okay, you help me put the children to sleep, you can do whatever you want," Liang Xiao said. "Well, I agree," Fan Fan also agreed. Jiang Rui also said with a smile, "I was worried that no one would help me take care of the children. I'll sleep next to you, you take care of the children." Long Bing only smiled and did not say anything. She was a mother, but her personality was still the same as before, without any change at all. Charlotte looked at the 4 lively little ones and suddenly wanted to retreat. "I didn't sleep last night. You guys take care of the children tonight. I'm going to the basement to make a plane." He left as soon as he said that, not daring to stay for a second longer. He was afraid that the 4 little ones would pester him to play some game again, then he would not be able to do anything serious tonight. Charlotte came to the secret underground room of the new house. When he applied for a safe house, he specifically asked for a basement, and the person in charge of this matter satisfied his request. It was just a small request, no big deal. This place was originally the residence of the nobles during the Qing dynasty, and most of the residences had underground secret rooms to collect antiques and money. However, before Xia Lei moved in, the person in charge of this matter had specially arranged for someone to renovate the basement, making it safer and more secretive. After entering the basement, Charlotte locked the safety door made of alloy, not allowing anyone a chance to enter, including his wives. There was only one reason for this, and that was the ancient alloy box, which Zhu Xianwei had mentioned, was in this basement. With its ability to drive people crazy and even kill them, how could he dare to let his woman and child come close to it? Actually, it was not just the ancient alloy box. The silver armor that he had brought back from Malta and the crystal skull that he had brought back from Israel were also here. Of course, that included the bronze treasure book and the compass. Now, everything was placed on a workbench by him. He looked at them quietly, and they seemed to be looking at him quietly. There was a very familiar feeling between him and them, but at the same time, there was a very strange feeling. They had become a part of his life, but he didn't even know what they were or where they came from. These were the questions he needed to figure out. After quietly observing for a while, Charlotte awakened the abilities of his left and right eye and instantly entered the interior of the ancient alloy box. The familiar and terrifying feeling appeared again. He felt like he had fallen into a bottomless abyss, and kept falling, and there was no end. When everything finally stopped, there was a cold world around him. He couldn't see anything, and he couldn't hear anything. It was as if he was the only one left in the entire universe. It was incomparable loneliness and endless despair. Then, he used his X-ray vision to scan the crystal skull. Although looking through the crystal skull was not as painful as looking through the ancient alloy box, the feeling was definitely not something that a normal person could endure. Similar to looking through the ancient alloy box, the mysterious energy led him into a strange illusion. He experienced coldness and darkness, and then he saw light. The pure white light formed the shape of a door. He wanted to go through the door and see what was behind it, but just like before, when he approached the door, all the illusions ended, and his consciousness returned to the real world. He carefully compared the two experiences. Although there seemed to be a lot of similarities, he was very clear about the difference between the two experiences. The ancient alloy box was a real space, and the crystal skull brought him only an illusion. One was a real space, and the other was an illusion. That was the difference between the two. However, he found that this difference was useless. Charlotte smiled bitterly. I have less and less time left. Can I solve the secret of the ancient alloy box? I don't think so. If it can be solved, it would have been solved a long time ago. Why would it be me? He felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. Forget it. Let's put these things aside for now. I'd better study the fighter jets and strategic bombers first. When I leave, I won't have any regrets, Charlotte comforted himself. He closed his eyes, sat on the chair, and relaxed his whole body. Then, his brain entered extraordinary mode. There was no need for paper, pen, or computer. No matter how complicated the design was, his brain could handle it. The experience of piloting the B-2 strategic bomber to bomb Area 51 half a month ago was really an invaluable experience for him. The technical protection of the B-2 strategic bomber by the U.S. government could be described as insane. If it was a white person, it would be better, but as long as it was a yellow-skinned Chinese person, even if he was a U.S. soldier, he wouldn't be able to get close to this strategic stealth bomber. However, Charlotte wasn't trying to plagiarize. He just wanted to design his own strategic bomber easier, faster, and more efficient after he had a more comprehensive understanding of the B-2 strategic bomber. Of course, with the B-2 strategic bomber as a reference, the strategic bomber he designed would definitely surpass the former in all aspects. There was no sound in the underground secret room. Charlotte seemed to be asleep. But this was only a superficial illusion. In his brain, almost all of his brain cells were involved in the research of the bomber. Every one of his brain cells was a brilliant scientific researcher. There were as many scientific researchers researching the strategic bomber as there were brain cells in his brain. His body was not idle either. It constantly produced and delivered nutrients to his brain. At this time, he seemed to be lying down and sleeping, but whether it was physical or mental consumption, he had actually reached the limit. It was beyond the endurance of ordinary people. After an unknown amount of time, Xia Lei slid down from the chair and fell into a coma. It wasn't that he couldn't control his brain to stop this research, but he had entered a very critical period, and he didn't want to stop. This was like solving a problem. Sometimes the brain's ideas and inspiration were very good, but if it was stopped, it would be difficult to have the same ideas and inspiration the next time he tried to solve the problem. Beep beep, beep beep. There was a signal receiver in this basement, and its existence broke the silence here. Charlotte's consciousness woke up to the ringing of the satellite phone. He struggled to get up and took out the satellite phone. The number on the satellite phone made his nerves suddenly excited. He couldn't wait to answer the phone. "Dad, it's me." The phone call was from Xia Changhe. He finally showed up. "Leister, I don't have much time. Listen carefully." It was Xia Changhe's voice. Charlotte's heart sank slightly. This was the situation every time he called. He didn't like this feeling, although he understood. He said, "Okay, go ahead. You don't have much time left." Xia Lei was stunned for a moment. The prehistoric time limit was 3 years, and now he still had more than a year left. This was his own secret. He had only told Zhu Xianyue because it was not a secret to Zhu Xianyue at all. He had never told Xia Changhe, but when he said this, it was obvious that he was referring to something. The question was, how could he know this secret? "I sent an email to your mailbox. Take a look," Xia Changhe said. Xia Changhe then walked to the hacker's computer on the workbench. Xia Changhe's voice came from the satellite phone. "There's no hurry. What I want to say is in that email. Talk to me about my grandchildren in the remaining time." Charlotte stopped. "They are all very good." Speaking of children, Charlotte's heart suddenly softened, and a smile appeared on his face. 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. Liang Xiao's child took her surname. Long Bing's child is called Xia Long. He is also a son. Jiang Rui and Fanfan have 2 daughters. One is called Xia Jianghe and the other is called Xia Fan. Ha ha ha. Xia Changhe's laughter came from the satellite phone. Charlotte said with a smile, "All 4 children are very smart, especially Fanfan's and my daughter, Xia Fan. She can speak very clearly at only 1 month. The other 3 children are about the same. All of them are very smart and grow much faster than other children." "Good, good, very good," Xia Changhe's voice said. "Our Xia family has a successor. I am relieved." "Dad, come back. You don't have to investigate anything. Some things should be done by me. If you come back now, I can guarantee your safety. There will be no investigation against you." Xia Changhe said, "I know you are doing this for my own good, but this is my destiny. You have your destiny, and I have mine." "Dad, what do you want to say? When are you going to take the last AE capsule?" Xia Changhe's voice said. "I don't know. Maybe you will make a decision faster after reading the email I sent you," Xia Changhe said. Charlotte's eyes moved to the hacker's computer and then he walked over. "That's it. I will contact you next time," Xia Changhe's voice said. Charlotte lifted the monitor of the hacker's computer and asked tentatively, "Dad, where are you now?" "I am in Italy. Don't look for me. You won't be able to find me." "That's it." Xia Changhe hung up the phone. Charlotte put down the satellite phone and quickly opened the mailbox. He found the email from Xia Changhe. He opened the email and saw the content. His eyes suddenly froze and he couldn't move. Chapter 1150. The email sent by his father was a few photos and a video file. The video file had not been opened yet, but the few photos completely extinguished Xia Lei's little hope. The photos were of Kirsten, the new CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation. Of course, there were also two beautiful bodyguards who never left his side, Charlotte and Eva. The photos sent by his father showed that they were taken a day ago, and the location of the photo was also the Lockheed Martin headquarters. Charlotte did not care how his father snuck into Lockheed Martin Corporation to take these photos. What he cared about was that Kirsten was still alive. Kirsten, Charlotte, and Eva. Charlotte never thought that these three people were still alive. Based on the intensity of the bombing that he had used on the AE Research Center, even a robot from the future would definitely be blown to pieces. How could Kirsten and his two beautiful bodyguards survive that level of bombardment? If Kirsten, Charlotte, and Eva survived, how could Zhu Xianwei and the prehistoric one have survived? Charlotte opened the video with a heavy heart. The content of the video was Kirsten presiding over a meeting in a conference room at the headquarters of Lockheed Martin Corporation. Charlotte and Eva stood on either side of him. In front of him were more than 10 senior executives of Lockheed Martin Corporation. In front of him, these senior executives of Lockheed Martin Corporation all looked very serious and cautious. In the video, Kirsten opened a document and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this meeting, please watch a video." A woman dressed as a secretary then turned on the projector, and a video suddenly appeared on the wall behind Kirsten. This video was a video of the battle in the Southern Sea that had been edited. The video showed the Jinka drone and the Ghost drone. The video showed the combat methods of these two drones, as well as their stunning performance. This is Rema Group's drone? This is too scary. The Super Bumblebee is no match for it at all. Oh my god, even the F-35 is no match for it. We've already lost the air. What is that? F***CK. It actually launched an anti-ship missile. As the video played, the multipurpose conference room was filled with discussions. Two emotions, surprise and jealousy, flowed in the conference room. Only Kirsten and the two beautiful bodyguards behind him were calm. The three of them did not react at all during the video. At the end of the video, an animated simulation appeared. A few bramble drones and a ghost drone were flying in the sky, and below them were a few UA warships that were emitting thick smoke. A few drones from China seemed to be returning victoriously. This scene made the senior executives of Lockheed Martin Corporation in the conference room very uncomfortable. They were used to the supreme sense of superiority of being ahead of the world. Now that someone was suddenly more advanced than them, they could not accept this. But in the midst of the muffled discussion, a black fighter jet suddenly appeared out of thin air. It looked like a black lightning bolt with a sci-fi and dreamy look, like a combination of the F-35 and the Super Hornet. As soon as it appeared, China's drones launched an attack on it. The air-to-air missiles of the Ghost drone and the suicidal explosions of the Bramble drone, these unparalleled weapons that had once troubled the UA 7th Fleet, were useless against this black fighter jet. All of their attacks were ineffective. Whether it was maneuverability or stealth, the black fighter jet was far superior to the two drones from China. The simulated battle ended quickly, and the black fighter jet killed all the drones from China. What kind of fighter jet is this? A senior executive of Lockheed Martin Corporation said in surprise, "I've never seen this kind of fighter jet before. Is it the latest Russian fighter jet?" A Russian fighter jet? That's impossible. There's no way Russia has the ability to produce and manufacture such a fighter jet. If it's not Russian, is it ours? Could it be Boeing? There was a lot of discussion. Kirsten then said, "Stop guessing. It's a fighter jet that Lockheed Martin Corporation is about to produce." Since when did our company have such a plan? Why haven't I heard anything about it? Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it either. Kirsten raised his hand to signal silence, and the multi-purpose conference room quickly quietened down. He said, "It's normal that you don't know about this plan. You don't need to know who designed it, and you don't need to know the other details. You only need to know that as long as we produce this fighter jet, Rema Group's laughable air superiority will disappear." After a pause, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Don't the China people boast that they're the descendants of the dragon? Then we're the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon Slayer is the fighter jet that we're about to produce. Go and get ready, the Dragon Slayer plan has begun." The video ended here. Charlotte stared at the still image of the video, and did not move for a long time. The email from his father had completely shattered the hope that he had been holding on to. Kirsten was still alive, then Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric One were definitely still alive. Although he did not know how Kirsten had survived the bombing, and he did not know why Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric One had not come after him for revenge, he knew that the worst situation that he had been worried about had happened. He, Zhu Xianwei, and Prehistoric One had been in a delicate balance. However, he had bombed Zhu Xianwei and Prehistoric One, so the two of them had become his mortal enemies. After a few minutes, Charlotte closed the monitor of the hacker's computer. The day when the Prehistoric One and Zhu Xianwei came to his door would be the day of his trial. Zhu Xianwei and the Prehistoric One only threatened the lives of him, his woman, and his children, while Kirsten and Lockheed Martin Corporation threatened the future of Rema Group and the entire China. These were the things he cared about the most, and they could not be violated. Charlotte's eyes moved to the alloy pendant on his neck. Facing the unprecedented threat of death and the pressure of losing everything, it seemed that there was only one way for him, and that was to eat the last AE capsule, start a comprehensive evolution, and become as powerful as the Prehistoric One and Zhu Xianwei. Charlotte pulled off the alloy pendant and held it in his hand. He was struggling in his heart. Zhu Xianwei and the Prehistoric One both want me to eat it, and I only have one way left. But do I really have to start the unknown evolution, lose my current body one day, and become a mass of energy? At that time, will my wife and children still be able to feel my existence? In the past, he did not eat the best AE capsule because it was the best one. Once he ate it, and he did not study it thoroughly, there would be no AE capsule to study in the future. Later, he did not eat it because he understood that eating it would start a comprehensive evolution and eventually evolve into a mass of energy, so he did not dare to eat it rashly. Now, he was very clear about the nature of the AE capsule. Once he ate it, he might have to say goodbye to his wife, children, family, and friends forever. Under these circumstances, the decision to eat the pill was extremely difficult for him. The satellite phone rang again. Charlotte glanced at the satellite phone on his workbench, then took a deep breath and answered the call. "Hubby, it's time for breakfast. Seriously, how could you stay in the basement for the whole night? Don't you want your body anymore?" Liang Xiao's voice had a reproachful tone, but more than that, it was filled with love and concern. "Okay, I'll come out for breakfast right away." Charlotte hung up the phone and put the alloy pendant containing the AE capsule into his trouser pocket. Even if he wanted to eat it, he did not have to wait for a day or two, right? He thought to himself. Chapter 1151. When they walked out of the underground secret room, they were greeted by the golden sunlight. Standing in the morning light, Liang Xiao was holding her baby son, Liang Jieyu. She was dressed in a skimpy outfit. Her figure hadn't changed at all because she had given birth to a child. She still looked tall and had long legs. The places that should be perky were perky, and the places that should be perky were perky. However, compared to her previous self, she was more mature now. Liang Xiao greeted him, reached out and patted Charlotte's trousers, and then patted his buttocks twice. "Why are there dust on your trousers? Did you fall down?" Or were you too sleepy and slept on the ground? Charlotte's heart was warm. He said with a smile, I just sat on the ground for a while. It's okay. Change it later. I'll wash it for you. Liang Xiao's voice was full of love. Charlotte responded and reached out with a smile. Son, come and give Daddy a hug. Liang Jiu leaned into Xia Lei's arms and muttered, Ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba. Liang Xiao patted Liang Jiu's little buttocks and scolded, You have no conscience. You kissed your father as soon as you saw him. I fed you for nothing. Charlotte hit Liang Xiao's waist and said, Why are you jealous of your son kissing his father? Isn't it just milk? I also have milk. Son, if you are hungry, you can drink Daddy's milk, okay? Liang Jiu's head shook like a rattle drum, and there was a vague sound coming from his mouth. No, Charlotte said, You still don't like it? You know your mother also likes to drink Daddy's milk. Liang Jiu's eyes widened. Ha, woo woo woo, poison card. What did you say? Charlotte was stunned for a moment. Liang Xiao slapped Charlotte's buttocks and said with a laugh, Your son called you a pervert. How can you say such a thing in front of your son? Charlotte hugged Liang Jiu and bumped into Liang Xiao's chest, but Liang Xiao dodged it. The family of 3 came to the dining room. There were 7 people in the dining room. Other than the 3 pairs of mother and son, there was one more guest, Tang Yuyan. Charlotte was stunned for a moment before greeting, Yu Yen, you're here. Tang Yuyan said with a smile, The place you are living in now is really troublesome. Even I have to submit a report to get in. It's really not easy to come to your house now. Liang Xiao thought to herself, Then don't come. But on the surface, she was still polite. Yu Yen, have you had breakfast? Why don't we eat together? Okay, I haven't had breakfast yet, so I won't stand on ceremony. Tang Yuyan smiled even more happily. Jiang Rui said, I'll get you a bowl of porridge. Charlotte said, Let me do it. Be careful that you don't burn Jiang He. Well, that's good. Jiang Rui's face was full of bliss. She poked Xia Jianghe's armpit with her finger and teased her. Baby, look at how much your daddy dotes on you. He doesn't even love mommy anymore. Ha ha. Xia Jianghe let out a string of bell-like laughter. She didn't know if she understood her mother's words or if she was tickled by her mother. Grandma! Grandma! Xia Fan, who was in Fan Fan's arms, shouted. Fan Fan frowned and said, Eat, eat, eat. You only know how to eat. I just fed you half an hour ago and you want to eat again. How can you eat so much? Aren't you afraid of growing into a little fat pig? Pig, Xia Fan said. How dare you scold me? I won't hit you. Fan Fan reached out to pat Xia Fan's butt, but she didn't use any strength. It couldn't be any lighter. There was a burst of laughter in the dining room. Tang Yuyan didn't hide the envy and yearning in her eyes. Your family is really blessed. A gentle and considerate husband and a smart and lovely child. As a woman, I envy you so much. The 4 expectant mothers looked at each other with strange expressions on their faces. If it was another woman who said this, they wouldn't think there was anything wrong with it. However, it was Tang Yuyan who said this. It wasn't that simple. Before they moved in, Tang Yuyan would visit Ping and residence every few days. Every time she came, she would bring a lot of gifts for the adults and children. Moreover, Tang Yuyan would stay for half a day every time she came. She would rush to do everything and was very enthusiastic. If this wasn't trying to enter the family, what was it? Of course, the 4 expectant mothers didn't want Tang Yuyan to be like this. However, the problem was that they all owed Tang Yuyan their lives. Their children were born because of Tang Yuyan's life. With such a huge favor in front of them, even if they were unwilling, they couldn't chase her away. After all, they weren't fickle women. Charlotte scooped a bowl of porridge and placed it in front of Tang Yuyan. Yuyan, eat. Let's eat. The family and Tang Yuyan sat at the same dining table. The atmosphere was strange and a little awkward. Sister Fan Fan, eat more eggs. It's nutritious. Tang Yuyan added a piece of scrambled egg and placed it in Fanfan's bowl. Thank you. Fanfan looked a little awkward. Xiao, you eat more eggs too. Raising a son is harder than raising a daughter. You must keep up with your nutrition. Tang Yuyan picked up a piece of scrambled egg for Liang Xiao. Thank you. Liang Xiao was also a little embarrassed. Then, Tang Yuyan picked up some food for Long Bing and Jiang Rui. She was deliberately trying to please Charlotte's women. At this moment, she didn't look like the daughter of an ancient family at all. She looked more like a weak, ordinary woman in a weak position. Charlotte saw this, but his heart was filled with sorrow. He thought to himself, she has always been fighting for the happiness she wants. In order to marry into my family, she, the daughter of the Tang family, has lowered herself so much. It's really hard for her. But does she know that what she's fighting for can disappear at any time? If she knows that I don't have much time left and what kind of enemy I'm facing, will she still come to me like a moth to a flame? The footsteps of the Grim Reaper were getting closer and closer, but Tang Yuyan was still tirelessly trying to become his woman and bear his children. Faced with such a relationship debt, he had a headache. After breakfast, Tang Yuyan took the initiative to ask, "You guys can let me take care of the children. I like them very much, and you guys can take a rest. Although I've never had children before, I know that it's very hard to take care of children." This. Fanfan was a little tempted, but she was also a little hesitant. Jiang Rui didn't say anything. Among the four women, she was the one who never made the decision. She would do what others did. Liang Xiao didn't say anything either. She felt the same as Fanfan. Only Long Bing said, "Well, this kid is very naughty. You have to keep an eye on him and don't let him stuff things into his mouth." With that, she handed Xiao Long to Tang Yuyan. Tang Yuyan smiled at Long Bing gratefully. She remembered the suggestion that Charlotte had given her. Among the four women, Long Bing was the easiest for her to make a breakthrough. Xiao Long came into Tang Yuyan's arms and reached out to grab Tang Yuyan's full chest as he shouted, "Grandma." Tang Yuyan's face suddenly turned red. I don't have water. I can't give it to you." Ha ha ha. Charlotte couldn't help laughing. The four mothers-to-be focused on Charlotte at the same time, and Charlotte shut his mouth. The laughter was still echoing in the dining room, and his expression was as awkward as it could be. It was really a funny scene. Tang Yuyan was also embarrassed. She lined up the three strollers and said fawningly, "Sister Fanfan, Rui, Xiao, let me take care of your children. You guys take a break and go for a walk with Charlotte. You guys are always pestered by the children, and you don't have time to enjoy your time together. It was not a time for 2 people, but a time for 5 people. Then, I'll have to trouble you." Seeing that Long Bing had handed Xiao Long to Tang Yuyan, Fanfan also put Xia Fan in the stroller for Tang Yuyan to take care of. Jiang Rui and Liang Xiao also put Xia Jianghe and Liang Jiyu in the stroller, and then helped Tang Yuyan push the children to the living room. The living room had now become the children's entertainment room. The floor was full of toys and diapers. It was a mess. "You guys go for a walk, I'll take care of this." Tang Yuyan went into the living room and was busy tidying up. Charlotte's family of 5 came to the backyard, but they were not in the mood to take a walk, so they stopped after a few steps. A family meeting was about to start. "She really doesn't want to give up," Liang Xiao said. "If this goes on, we'll have to add more people to our family, right?" Jiang Rui said. "I really don't know what she's thinking. She's so outstanding, young and beautiful, and she's the director of 101 innings. She's also the eldest daughter of the Tang family. If she wants to marry, the outstanding men in China can line up all the way to the Great Wall. Why does she like our man and won't let him go?" Fanfan said. Long Bing said, "She's actually quite pitiful. She looks happy on the surface, but I know she's not happy at all. Have you seen her like this? Why do you have to be so submissive and humble?" The other 3 women shook their heads. They had seen Tang Yuyen's performance during this period of time, and it gave them the feeling that she had changed into a different person. Long Bing said again, "Actually, if it weren't for her during the assassination, we wouldn't be here, and our child wouldn't be here either. She was willing to sacrifice her life to protect us. No matter what mistakes she has made, I've already forgiven her. If she's willing to leave the Tang family, I have no objections." The other three women didn't say anything, but they all shifted their gazes to Charlotte's face. Charlotte hurriedly raised his hand. "Why are you looking at me? I didn't say anything. I don't even know what you're talking about." Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "You must be secretly happy in your heart, right? You've taken advantage of me, but you're still pretending to be innocent. I'll hit you." Charlotte, Fan shrugged. "All right, I don't have any objections. One more person means one more pair of chopsticks, right? A pair of chopsticks is a small matter." Charlotte wanted to say something, but he didn't say anything. In fact, he didn't know what he wanted to say, but he didn't think it was appropriate to say nothing. In short, he felt very strange at the moment. Liang Xiao said, "Honey, don't say anything about this for the time being. We have to talk to her." Jiang Rui added, "Yes, talk to her." Charlotte said, "What do you want to talk about?" "This kind of thing, What could he say about such a thing? If he said too much, it would be really unfair. If he didn't say it, it would be inappropriate for him, the head of the family, to have no say in such a big matter. "What do you want to talk about?" Liang Xiao said, "Of course, we have to make sure that she leaves the Tang family. If she can't do it, this matter will not develop any further. Also, we have to observe her." Fan said, "The four of us have such a good relationship. If she comes and wants to be independent, our family will be in a mess." "Yes, observe," Jiang Rui said. Charlotte looked at Jiang Rui and said with a smile, "Are you doing a crosstalk? They will play the leading role, and you will play the supporting role." Jiang Rui punched him with her pink fist. It was this pink fist that broke the serious scene. Charlotte and Jiang Rui were playing, and the other three women joined in, and became Jiang Rui's reinforcements. The five people suddenly became a mess. They hit each other's buttocks, pinched each other's buttocks, and pinched each other's buttock. It was a mess. After a while, Fan suddenly took Charlotte's arm and said with a red face, "Honey, you haven't slept in bed for 2 days. Let me help you to rest." Charlotte smiled. Her sensitive constitution was playing tricks on her. It was easy for other women to breastfeed a child, but it was very difficult for her. Since she brought it up at this time, it was most likely that she wanted to feed this big baby something to eat. "Let's go together?" Charlotte said with a smile. 3 pink fists fell on Charlotte's chest, but whether it was Jiang Rui, Long Bing, or Liang Xiao, they all nodded. "Sleep," Charlotte said energetically. He didn't look like a person who hadn't slept in bed for 2 days. In the living room, Tang Yuyan was wiping the poop on Xiaolong's buttock. While wiping, she muttered, "Why is it so hard to take care of a child? If I have twins, I will be exhausted to death. Ouch! Xia Fan, don't eat the excavator. Is it edible?" Chapter 1152. The afternoon sun was blazing. Tang Yuyan held a parasol while Charlotte accompanied her and walked her out. "You should also stand under the umbrella. The sun is too strong and you will tan," Tang Yuyan said. Charlotte smiled and said, "I'm a man. Why should I be afraid of getting tanned? Just hide. I'm fine." Tang Yuyan still came over and covered Charlotte's head with the parasol. Charlotte was 185 meters tall, and she was also 175 meters tall. Coupled with a pair of high heels, she was not much shorter. The two of them looked like a very compatible couple when they walked together. Many people looked at Charlotte and Tang Yuyan. Charlotte did not know them, but there was no one here who did not know Charlotte. He was now the most famous person in China. His every move affected the nerves of the whole world. There were very few Chinese who did not know him. However, he was famous in this special community not because of his Thunder Horse military factory or the Jinka and Ghost drones that had been recently hyped on the news channel, but because of his 4 wives and 4 children. His wives were all stunning, and his children were all extremely smart. Who would not be envious that they could speak after only a month? So many women and so many children lived together, yet they could get along harmoniously. Who would not be curious? Now, Xia Lei was walking under a parasol with a 5th woman. Their posture was ambiguous, and their expressions were also ambiguous. The people in the neighborhood couldn't help but stare at them. In the face of those gazes, Charlotte was already a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. Tang Yuyan was, after all, the daughter of a famous family. She blushed a little and felt a little embarrassed. The road in the community was winding and seemed very long. You. Tang Yuyan's voice was low. Don't you have anything to say to me? Charlotte knew that she wanted to hear him say something, but those words were not easy for him to say. He glanced at her, then fell silent again. A trace of disappointment flashed across Tang Yuyan's eyes. I've already convinced Long Bing. Do you know what I'm talking about? Charlotte smiled. I know. After lunch, Liang Xiao talked to me, and I understood what she meant. If I wanted to marry into your family, I would have to leave the Tang family. That was what Liang Xiao meant, and probably what Fan Fan meant as well. The woman in charge of your family has always been Liang Xiao. Long Bing can also make decisions, but she doesn't like to talk and doesn't want to fight with others. Tang Yuyan said. She did not mention Jiang Rui because Jiang Rui followed the lead of the other 3 women and was not an obstacle at all. She had actually thought through Charlotte's 4 women very thoroughly. Do you want to know what I think? Charlotte said. Tang Yuyan nodded. The man I want to be with is you. If you don't agree, it's useless no matter how hard I try. Charlotte stopped and looked straight into Tang Yuyan's eyes. I don't have any objections, but can you meet their requirements? Leaving the Tang family will be a very painful choice for you. Tang Yuyan was silent for a moment before she said, Yes, it will be a very difficult choice, but for you, I am willing to make any sacrifices. When the Hattori family assassins used poison gas to assassinate her, she was willing to use her life to protect Charlotte's women and children. She could even give up her life, so what else couldn't she give up? These words touched Charlotte's heart. He hesitated for a moment. Yu Yan, am I worth your sacrifice? It's worth it. For you, I am willing to give up anything, Tang Yuyan said. Charlotte's heart suddenly softened. He reached out and grabbed Tang Yuyan's hand. Yu Yan, they want you to leave the Tang family. This is also what I want, but we are not talking about not recognizing your parents, your brother, or your parent. Your body, hair, and skin belong to your parents, and your parents have raised you up. These kinship and kindness are in your blood, and you can't cut them off easily. When we are talking about leaving, we don't want to have any economic or political connections with the Tang family because of you. What you need to cut off is these things. Tang Yuyan was stunned for a moment. All this time, she had thought that Liang Xiao wanted her to leave the Tang family because she wanted to leave the Tang family and not have any contact with the Tang family. In the face of this condition, she appeared to be very strong, but she knew that it was extremely difficult to face her parents and grandfather to do this. Charlotte was right. Her parents gave birth to her, and her parents raised her. How could she cut off such kinship and kindness? But she didn't expect that Charlotte would tell her to cut off like this. This kind of cutting off was much easier for her, and she could do it. After being stunned for a moment, Tang Yuyan suddenly reached out and hugged Charlotte's waist. That pair of plump and firm breasts also pressed on Charlotte's chest, flattening the shape. Charlotte was stunned for a moment and hurriedly said, "What are you doing? A lot of people are watching." So what if they see? Tang Yuyan's heart had been filled with sweetness, and even her voice had the taste of vanilla and cream. "I am not afraid of being seen by them," Charlotte said awkwardly. "They all know that I have 4 wives and 4 children." Tang Yin buried her face in Charlotte's neck and said softly, "Then I am the 5th, and my child is also your 6th child." "The 6th? I want to give you 2, a son and a daughter. You'd better let me get pregnant at once." "Charlotte, when will you marry me?" Tang Yuyen's eyes could melt people. Charlotte sighed softly. "Yu Yen, if what? I only have a little more than a year left in my life. Will you still insist on marrying me?" Charlotte said. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Tang Yuyen suddenly became nervous. "I am serious. If I only have a year left in my life, will you still insist on marrying me? Not to mention a year, even if you only have 1 day left, I will still marry you." Tang Yuyen threw away the umbrella and held Charlotte's face. "Tell me what happened." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Nothing, you can't help me with my matters. Is this the reason why Xiao and Ah Bing moved here?" Tang Yuyen was a smart woman, and she immediately guessed the right direction. Charlotte did not say anything, which was a tacit agreement. What was the use of telling Tang Yuyen? It was useless at all. In the face of opponents like Zhu Xianwei and the prehistoric one, not to mention Tang Yuyen, even the country could not help him. "In the past, I didn't know what I wanted at all. What I wanted and fought for was also what the Tang family needed. It was not until you appeared that I gradually understood that I wanted you, and I can't live without you. During this period of time without you, I didn't even know what was the point of living. I think of you every day, and I can dream of you every night. I love you, and I want to be your woman, even if it is just for a day. I am serious, so no matter what difficulties you encounter, I will not be afraid. Whatever you need me to do, I will do it for you. If I can't help, I will be like Xiao and Ah Bing, and stay at home quietly waiting for you to come home. Do you understand my heart?" Charlotte nodded. Tang Yuyen moaned and suddenly kissed Charlotte's lips. Those who had been watching were instantly dumbfounded. A man with 4 wives and children was kissing another woman in front of his house. If it was any other man, who would dare? Even if other men dared, they would not have such luck. The women gathered around Charlotte were all stunning, and it would be a great blessing for an ordinary man to marry one, let alone 4 or 5 of them. It was also Charlotte's first time kissing Tang Yuyen in front of so many people. He was a little nervous at first, but he quickly relaxed and responded to Tang Yuyen with more passion. For Tang Yuyen, he had always had complicated feelings for her. He liked her and he hated her, but in the end, he was touched and melted by her. In fact, when she almost died to save Long Bing, Jiang Rui, Liang Xiao, and Fan Fan, his heart had completely accepted her. Tang Yuyen kissed until her tongue was numb, then reluctantly let go of Charlotte. Her eyes were filled with tears of happiness. "I have been waiting for this kiss for a long time." Xia Lei smiled and pulled her along as they continued to walk forward. He didn't want to stay here, and the onlookers made him very uncomfortable. Outside the door, Charlotte sent Tang Yuyen to her car. Tang Yuyen couldn't help hugging him again, and gave him another kiss on the street. Women in love were like this. For love, they would do anything. Her passion also ignited Charlotte. Her hot kiss and her body full of passion and desire made him forget all his troubles. He forgot Zhu Xianwei, forgot the prehistoric one, and the pressure brought by Lockheed Martin Corporation's Dragon Slayer project. His mind was only filled with Tang Yuyen's kiss, her tongue, and her warm and soft body. He actually needed this kind of relaxation, even if it was only temporary. What is this? It's hard." Tang Yuyen suddenly let go of Charlotte, and one of her soft hands rested on Charlotte's thigh. That place was the trouser pocket, the place near Charlotte. Perhaps she couldn't help but want to touch something, but she grabbed something else instead. Charlotte put his hand into his trouser pocket and took out the alloy necklace and pendant. You've been wearing it since the first time I saw you. Why did you take it off? Tang Yuyen said. Charlotte said, there is a capsule in this pendant. Tang Yuyen was stunned for a moment. What capsule? Charlotte paused and moved closer to her ear. The AE capsule. Tang Yuyen was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Charlotte just looked at her quietly. The last AE capsule was his secret. In order to save his woman and child, Tang Yuyen could even sacrifice her life. She could also cut off the Tang family for him. He should at least be so honest with her. Moreover, he was already ready to eat the last AE capsule, but he had to make some arrangements before eating it. Tang Yuyen smiled. Charlotte telling her such an important thing made her feel even happier and more touched than the kiss just now, because it meant that he already regarded her as his woman. Their eyes met, and a new kiss seemed to be brewing. But at this moment, a military off-road vehicle suddenly stopped beside the two of them. Tang Buchuan poked his head out of the driver's seat with a smile on his face. Hey, girl, you and Charlotte are like this. Aren't you afraid that his 4 tigresses will chase you with knives? Chapter 1153. The street in front of the community was actually controlled by the top bodyguard team in China, so as long as there were suspicious people, they would be stopped outside the street. If they were identified as dangerous targets, they might even be killed directly. Therefore, Charlotte didn't deliberately observe and control the environment around him. Otherwise, he would have found Tang Buchuan early in the car. He wouldn't have waited until he stopped the car to find him. Tang Buchuan's arrival surprised Charlotte a little, which made Tang Yuyen a little embarrassed and nervous. Charlotte put the necklace and pendant into his trouser pocket and said hello with a smile. Buchuan, are you looking for Yuyen? Tang Buchuan said with a smile. Well, yes, she is my boss now. By the way, you just… Charlotte just shrugged and didn't explain. What happened between him and Tang Yuyen had nothing to do with the Tang family, so he didn't need to explain to anyone from the Tang family. Only then did Tang Yuyen come back to herself. She said, Brother, why are you looking for me? Can't you just call me? Tang Buchuan said, I just received information from the immigration office. Several dangerous people entered the country an hour ago. Dangerous people? Where are they from? Tang Buchuan said, Where else? Of course, it's the United States. Charlotte frowned slightly. He suddenly thought of Kirsten and the Dragon Slayer project of Lockheed Martin Corporation. Tang Yuyen said, I see. You can go back. I'll be back later. Tang Buchuan said, Grandpa is in the capital. He wants you to go back and have dinner with him. Before Tang Yuyen could say anything, he looked at Charlotte and said, Charlotte, why don't you come with me? Me? Charlotte shook his head. I won't go. I still have something to deal with. A trace of displeasure flashed through Tang Buchuan's eyes, but it soon disappeared. He still maintained a smile on his face. Charlotte, look, you kissed my sister on the street. You abducted my grandpa's precious granddaughter. You should go and see my grandpa. Since he had hooked up with Tang Yunhai's granddaughter, it was reasonable for him to meet them. However, thinking of the faces of Tang Yunhai, Tang Tianlong and Zhang Yumei, as well as the things they had done, Charlotte couldn't help but feel uncomfortable in his heart. He glanced at Tang Yuyen. If Tang Yuyen wanted him to go, he would still go. Tang Yuyen's expression was a little complicated. She seemed to be preoccupied and hesitant. Yuyen, say something, Tang Buchuan said. Tang Yuyen bit her lip. She suddenly got into Charlotte's arms and kissed Charlotte's cheek in front of Tang Buchuan. Then she whispered in his ear, I know you don't want to go, but I want you to go with me. When I face my grandpa, my dad, and my mom, I'll be braver with you by my side. Charlotte understood how she felt at the moment. She had grown up in such an environment. Tang Yunhai, Tang Tianlong, and Zhang Yumei had established a dignity in her heart that was difficult to defy. There was also the entire Tang family. That ancient family was like a mountain pressing on her. Now that she had to fight against them, she not only needed enough courage and determination, but she also needed his help. If she had a request, he would grant it. Charlotte nodded. Okay, I'll go with you. Tang Yuyen's heart was moved. She kissed Charlotte's cheek again. Thank you. Charlotte whispered in her ear, we're a family. Don't be so polite. When he said they were a family, Tang Yuyen's heart fell into the pond of love. She couldn't see the people on the street, nor could she see Tang Buchuan beside her. She impulsively kissed Charlotte's lips. Her lilac tongue also pried open Charlotte's teeth and slipped in. Based on her reaction and her current mood, if they weren't on the street, she was afraid that she would have taken the initiative to push Charlotte down. Tang Buchuan looked away. It wasn't because the scene of his sister and Charlotte kissing was too exciting, but because he was very uncomfortable in his heart. The Tang family was a big family with hundreds of years of history. If Charlotte got married legally, and there were no Liang Xiao, Long Bing, Fan Fan, or Jiang Rui, he would be very happy, and the whole Tang family would be very happy. However, Charlotte was a man with 4 wives and 4 children, but he was still kissing his sister on the street in front of so many people and him, her brother. Where was the Tang family's face? Where was Tang Buchuan's face? Could he feel comfortable? If the man Tang Yuyen was hugging wasn't Charlotte, who he couldn't afford to offend, he would have rushed up and punched him. After a full 2 minutes, Tang Yuyen let go of Charlotte. Her jade dimples were faintly flushed, and her eyes could melt a man who was as strong as a bear and as hard as iron. Charlotte said with a smile, "You go deal with things first. I'll get ready and call you later." Tang Yuyen nodded and said, "Well, I'll help them take care of the children tomorrow." Charlotte smiled. Tang Yuyen got into her car and drove away slowly. At least 50% of her sight was on the rearview mirror. In the rearview mirror, Charlotte was gradually getting farther away, and her heart seemed to be missing something, empty and needed to be filled. A woman in love was like a piece of milk candy in her mouth, clingy. Tang Buchuan didn't drive away immediately. He got out of the car and walked to Charlotte's side, saying lightly, "What are you going to do?" Charlotte knew what he was talking about, but he said, "What are you going to do?" Tang Buchuan frowned, and a trace of displeasure flashed through his eyes. "We're all men, so there's no need to pretend, right?" "Buchuan, I really don't know what you're talking about," Charlotte said. Tang Buchuan shrugged and said, "Well, since you want to say it clearly, I'll say it clearly. You're Charlotte, after all. I'm talking about you and my sister. If I hadn't seen it, you wouldn't have brought it up, would you? You've developed to this extent. As a man, what kind of ending are you going to give her?" Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, "Can I go to your house tonight? Let's talk about it tonight." "Well, I'm just asking casually. I look forward to your visit." Tang Buchuan's eyes moved to Charlotte's pants, and he said with a smile, "I saw you holding a necklace on the way here. Are you going to give it to my sister?" Charlotte was slightly stunned. "No, that's my necklace. The button is broken, so I took it off." "Oh, I see. See you tonight." Tang Buchuan turned around, got into the car, and drove away. Charlotte took out the necklace and held it in his hand, looking thoughtful. Back in the neighborhood, many people smiled and greeted Charlotte, not hiding the respect in their hearts. Although Charlotte's private life was a mess, his contributions to the country were worthy of every Chinese's respect. The legendary stories about Charlotte also filled them with yearning and curiosity. Charlotte responded to them one by one. He was like an old neighbor with them. However, most of them couldn't even call his name. On the way, Charlotte was like a triumphant national hero. As soon as he got home, one of his ears was twisted by Liang Xiao. "I just saw you and Tang Yuyen kissing on the road in the front yard. Tell me, was it a washboard or a keyboard?" Liang Xiao looked fierce. However, Fan Fan, Long Bing, and Jiang Rui were laughing. During this period, Tang Yuyan had almost become like a part-time worker. They had seen the change in Tang Yuyan and Tang Yuyan's flattery. Most importantly, every time they saw their child, they couldn't ignore the time when Tang Yuyan sacrificed herself to save them. If it wasn't for Tang Yuyan, their child wouldn't even have had the chance to be born. For various reasons, past and present, the obstacle in their hearts had actually been slowly removed by Tang Yuyan, and they had all accepted her. In fact, another reason why they could accept Tang Yuyan was that it would be very difficult for one to have 2 children, but it wasn't difficult for 4 to become 5. It was already 4, so who would care about 5? Anyway, it wasn't like they were fighting over it. If a bed could sleep 5 people, then it could sleep 6. However, the man who stole food still had to be punished. Tell me. Liang Xiao's other hand fell on Charlotte's buttocks. Washboard or keyboard? Liang Jiyu crawled over from the carpet, raised his chubby little hand and grabbed Liang Xiao's stockings. He kept grabbing them, and his little mouth was still shouting, "Papa! Papa!" Charlotte took the opportunity to say, "Look, my son has come to help me. Why don't you let his father go?" Liang Xiao loosened her hand, and Liang Jiyu also loosened his hand. His little face was full of a successful smile. Liang Xiao stared at her son. Jiyu. Chapter 1154. Under the night sky, the capital was restless. All kinds of desires were released when night fell, filling every inch of space in the city. Zhang Yumei was busy early in the morning. When night fell, she had already made a table of sumptuous dinner. Now, they just had to wait for the guests to come to the banquet. Tang Tianlong didn't have a smile on his face in the face of a table full of good wine and dishes. He had already learned from Tang Buchuan that Tang Yuyan and Charlotte had kissed on the street, which made him feel ashamed as a father. Zhang Yumei didn't have a smile on her face either. She was actually reluctant to make this table of food. From the Tang family's point of view, this wasn't something to be happy about. The women of the Tang family were decent women, and the Tang family was also one of the top families in this country. How could it be a decent thing for Tang Yuyan to be Charlotte's mistress? In the eyes of ordinary people, it was enviable for Charlotte to have a group of beautiful wives. However, in the eyes of the Tang family, it was something that they could not accept. "Hasn't that guy come yet?" Zhang Yumei said. Tang Tianlong said, "No. To be honest, I'd rather he didn't come." Zhang Yumei said, "I used to think that the guy was with our Yuyan. But when I think of him living with 4 women and 4 children, I feel uncomfortable. I really don't know how those women can stand having 4 women serving one husband. It's disgusting to think about it." Disgusting? I also feel disgusted, but for the interests of the Tang family, you have to endure it no matter how uncomfortable it is. Tang Yunhai's voice came from the door. He was wearing a Tang suit and was in high spirit. He had a crutch in his hand, but if anyone thought that it was his means of walking, he was very much mistaken. It was his weapon. Tang Buchuan also appeared at the door. He looked very relaxed. He said with a smile, "Dad, Mom, it's the 21st century now. It's not your era anymore. This kind of thing is not a big deal now. Isn't Charlotte and his woman living in such a small area safe and sound? That's the preferential treatment given to him by the country. This country has given him too much preferential treatment," Tang Tianlong said with a frown. Tang Yunhai slammed the walking stick in his hand on the ground. "Yunhai, I'm older than you, but my thinking is not as old-fashioned as yours. Who was Fanfan? She is the director of the ZN Bureau, and her official position is above yours, but she is willing to be one of Charlotte's women. Is she not as good as your daughter?" Tang Tianlong did not dare to talk back. Tang Yunhai continued, "After several twists and turns, Yuyan finally got together with that brat. This is a good thing for our Tang family. I heard from an old friend who lives in that small area that all of Charlotte's children are very smart, and they can talk after only 1 month. Our Yu Yen is with Charlotte. She will definitely be pregnant with Charlotte's child, a smart child who inherits the best genes in the world. He will become an important member of our Tang family in the future and build our Tang family. Isn't this a good thing? Zhang Yumei flattered. Dad, it's not that we don't understand this. It's just that I feel a little uncomfortable. Don't worry. When that brat comes, I won't talk nonsense. Then, she nudged Tang Tianlong next to her with her elbow. Tang Tianlong also said, Dad, don't worry. I'm a person who can see the big picture. I won't give that brat any face. That's good. We should look at the long term. Tang Yunhai said, Yu Yen will marry Charlotte and become Charlotte's woman. Then, she'll get the shares of Rema Group. The original shares of Rema Group are very important to us. It's even related to the fate of our Tang family for the next 100 years or even 200 years, so we can't make any mistakes in this matter. I got it, Dad. Tang Tianlong didn't feel uncomfortable in his heart anymore. Zhang Yumei said with a smile, Dad, it's actually a happy occasion for our family today. We'll have a good drink and ask Charlotte to stay here for the night. Tang Yunhai nodded slightly to show his consent. Tang Buchuan suddenly said, Grandpa, Dad, Mom, I found something today. What is it? Tang Yunhai's eyes shifted to Tang Buchuan. Tang Buchuan was silent for a while and then said, When I drove to find Yu Yen had just kissed Charlotte. Xia Lei held a necklace in his hand. The necklace had been on his neck since the first time I had seen him. It's just an ordinary necklace that's not worth much. But did you know? The sacred star necklace he gave to Shintu Tianyin is now valued at 110 million yuan, and the gemstone necklace he gave to Yu Yen is now valued at 50 million yuan. He can give such an expensive necklace to a woman, but he's wearing a worthless alloy necklace that's only worth dozens of yuan. When I saw the necklace in his hand, I was very confused. Didn't he give my younger sister a gemstone necklace worth 50 million yuan? Does he want to give my younger sister the gold necklace that's worth dozens of yuan on his neck? It doesn't make sense, so I slowed down the car and used my lips to read the conversation between Charlotte and my younger sister. Guess what I read? Zhang Yumei reproached, Buchuan, when did you learn to do this? Quickly say it. Tang Yunhai also said, If you have something to say, just say it. Charlotte will be here soon. Tang Buchuan smiled. It turns out that the pendant of the alloy necklace in his hand contains the AE capsule. Ah! Tang Yunhai couldn't help but exclaim. Tang Tianlong anxiously said, Buchuan, tell me quickly. Is it the drug that the former CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Ms. Fossen, said on the Bo Ao forum to make Charlotte evolve? Tang Buchuan nodded. Yes, it's that drug. I guess the AE capsule in the pendant of the necklace is the last and only AE capsule in the world. Now that I think about it, the CIA launched several operations in our country. Their target was actually the AE capsule in Charlotte's hands. Tang Yunhai suddenly thought of something and said excitedly, I remember now. Every time I met Charlotte, Charlotte would wear that alloy necklace around his neck. If it wasn't for the AE capsule, he wouldn't have worn that necklace at all. Zhang Yumei said, If we can get that AE capsule, it would be great. Our Tang family has a large pharmaceutical company in Sichuan and a very advanced biological laboratory. If we can get that AE capsule, maybe we can mass produce it. At that time, what do we need Charlotte for? If this can be done. Tang Buchuan's eyes moved to the sky outside the door. His eyes exuded a fanatical light. At that time, let alone becoming one of the top families in China, we can even become the most powerful family in the world. Even those ancient families in Europe will be under our feet. The four people in the dining room couldn't keep calm. Charlotte had achieved his current achievements because of the AE capsule. If the Tang family got the AE capsule, then their achievements would definitely be much greater than Charlotte's. Because the Tang family had a foundation of hundreds of years, and Charlotte was just a poor boy who carried bricks on a construction site. A poor boy could develop into a national hero of China and sit on hundreds of billions of yuan, let alone the Tang family. But at this moment, Tang Yunhai's ear moved slightly, and then he said, "Don't talk about this anymore. You may go and get me the box in my study." "Dad, you want?" Zhang Yumei was inexplicably nervous. Tang Yunhai said, "I asked you to get it, so just do it. Don't ask why." "Okay, I'll get it right away." Zhang Yumei turned around and left the dining room. Tang Yunhai said, "Let's go to the living room and see that boy." In the living room, Charlotte put a large bag of gifts on the tea table next to the sofa. He looked very calm, but Tang Yuyan, who had just returned home, looked very nervous. After all, she was the one who wanted to sever ties with the Tang family, not Charlotte. Thinking of those faces, her heart was restless. Charlotte seemed to feel her nervousness. He grabbed her soft hand and said softly, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." "Okay." Tang Yuyan gently responded. Charlotte moved closer to her ear and whispered, "Did you forget what I told you during the day? I don't want you to disown them, but don't get involved in economic and political affairs. Do you understand what I mean?" Tang Yuyan nodded and was moved. She couldn't help but get into Charlotte's arms and buried her head on his shoulder. She breathed in his scent, which was very real and gave her a sense of security. Also, there were some things that stimulated hormones. It felt really comfortable in his arms. "Okay." Suddenly, an old man coughed. Tang Yuyan hurriedly let go of Charlotte and looked at the door. She saw Tang Yunhai, Tang Tianlong and Tang Buchuan at a glance. The 3 generations of the Tang family walked in. "Hee, Xiaolei, Xiaolei, you didn't even enter my house the last time we parted. What kind of wind blew you here this time?" Tang Yunhai tried to find a topic to talk about. Charlotte smiled. "Hello, Grandpa Tang, Uncle Tang. Well, Buchuan, you too." After greeting them, he calmly took over Tang Yunhai's topic. "Grandpa Tang, you know I'm really too busy. Since the last time we parted, I've been studying drones in Rema Group. It's only now that I have time. As soon as I have time, I come to see you." "Ha ha ha." Tang Yunhai laughed. "You're still so good at talking, kid. You're flattering me. By the way, I bought you some gifts. I hope you like them," Charlotte said. Tang Yuyan then opened the big bag of gifts and took out a bag of tea. She handed it to Tang Yunhai. "Grandpa, this is Charlotte's gift for you. It's the tea from the 1,000-year-old tea tree in Polonia village in Wui Mountain. It's very expensive." Charlotte asked his friend to buy it from the local people. It wasn't easy. Tang Yunhai just glanced at it casually and casually threw the bag of tea that was more expensive than gold on the coffee table. He just said lightly, "And okay. Dad, this is the wine Charlotte bought for you. It's an old cellar wine from Mount I Town. It's much better than those bottled wine. I heard it's very delicious. I hope you like it." Tang Yuyan handed a jar of wine to Tang Tianlong. Tang Tianlong just looked at Tang Yuyan expressionlessly and didn't even stretch out his hand. When Tang Yunhai shifted his gaze to look at him, he reached out to take it and said faintly, okay." Charlotte gave Tang Buchuan a Rolex watch, which was the most expensive one. When Tang Yuyan gave the watch to Tang Buchuan said with a smile, "Hey, Charlotte, you gave me such an expensive gift for no reason. I don't dare to accept it. However, if you want to use these gifts as betrothal gifts, I have to tell you that it's not enough." Charlotte just smiled faintly. He was no longer the person he used to be. He could tell at a glance who was really smiling and who was pretending. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.